symposium, our summits, again, you earned your 6 CPD points, and now you'll have the 10 that are required by AHRM so that you can renew your membership and also your licenses. So for the purpose of the people that we have not interacted before, I can see a lot of familiar faces. I said, my name is Rhoda Wairioko. I know Wairioko is a difficult name, but it is, as you can see it in the chat. Rhoda Wairioko is a HR practitioner. I'm one of your colleagues, and I've been in the practice for the last 18 years. Again, my other part, I'm also a HR consultant, practicing with them MMLCL. And again, I partner with the ACHRP in terms of building capacity for the certified HR professionals or the HR professionals in different topics and the fields that we share experience with. So that's who I am. So for those who are able to unmute, I would really love maybe just to hear from you. Tell us who you are, for those who are able to unmute, which field you are in, what are you doing, and maybe what is your expectation in this program. Just a short introduction before we could pray and then we dive into the topic. Let me hear from those who are able to unmute. Beatrice, I can see you're already unmuted, so we could start with you. Beatrice,
good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Beatrice.
My name How is. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, and everyone else, I believe, is okay. Oh, there are two Beatrices, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, there is Omolo and Mahumu. Let's start with Beatrice Mahumu. Omolo, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay, morning, everyone. My name is Beatrice Mahumu from the National Communication Secretariat. I'm an administrative secretary here, so I have CHRPK, so I'm looking forward to transition into HR in the near future. My expectation, 1, to get the 2 CPD points, and 2, to learn from others, just see how I can improve myself in the field, considering that I am not a practicing HR professional. So I depend so much on the discussions here to understand what happens in the field.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana, Beatrice. This is the way you said you're already CHRP, you're already attending our training, you're still, you're already a HRM member, IHRM member. So that's very commendable. We are going to exchange. In these forums, you know, at the academy, we really rely on each other to trade our experiences, our knowledge, and what we have picked along the way, so we learn from it. So you're in safe hands, you're in the good forum. Let's go to the next, Beatrice Omolo.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Beatrice.
Okay, my name is Beatrice Omolo. I'm a seasoned HR professional. Okay, I consider myself one because I've been in the field for more than 10 years. And what I expect to learn from this training is, of course, apart from learning from each other, the experiences in the other fields, not other fields, HR, yes, but the other professionals. Apart from learning from the other professionals, I would also like to learn how to enhance my persuasion skills.
Great. Great, that's very good. Enhancing persuasive skills.
Yes.
Any other person? Joshua, I can see you're already unmuted. You're ready to go in next.
Thank you, Rhoda. My name is Joshua Were. I'm a HRM VP group. I'm glad for this training, especially the effective persuasion skills. I believe at the end of it all, we shall have sharpened our skills.
Sharpening skills. Thank you very much. Joshua, I think we've met before. Thank you. Gabriel, your hand is up. Go next. Then we'll be followed by Pauline. Karibu sana.
Okay, thank you so much. I expect to learn more, refresh more on persuasive skills and also interact from fellow practitioners.
Great. You want to refresh his skills because you all have some degree of persuasive skills, and he also want to interact and to network and to also take contacts. Actually, that should always be your expectation when you go to any training, because you need to meet more contacts. You need to take more more network, so that you can actually consult with the people that you're going to meet in this forum from what we are going to share in in terms of the experiences that and exposures we have at your workplaces. So thank you very much. Let's go to Pauline.
Hi,
Pauline,
my name is
I can
Pauline.
see your hand up. Yes.
Yeah, hi, my name is Pauline. Nice to meet all of you. So I'm a seasoned HR professional. I'm here to learn, have an open mind, and of course get the 2 CPD points.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's Pauline. She's here to learn, to network, and also to refresh her skills, and also to get her CPD points. That's very good. I can see whose hands up again. Anyone who is again able to unmute? I know there are those people who are still multitasking, especially those who have gone back to the office. I can see Okech saying Merry Christmas. Polycarp, Madam Rhoda, you are on, oh, sorry, that one I already dealt with. And who else?
Elias?
Yes, please go on.
Okay, my name is Nelias Wanganga. I mean, Nelly Wanganga as written, but I am a P&T manager, a people and talent manager. It's just a bit of tweaking from HR and working with an international organization. Basically, I'm here to learn and to interact. And it's because, I think because of the COVID pandemic, I wasn't able to join in since last year. I feel guilty, but I'm so ready to run with the training and to meet people this end of the year into next year, God willing.
Thank you very much, Nelly. You must have missed a lot, because as the academy, we've really been trying to do both physical and also the online. I know there is the fear of COVID, but what we did as an academy, every month we've been preparing 2 virtual meetings, and the 2 virtual meetings are able to give you at least 4 CPD points. So you've not lost it. If it's for the purpose of the CPD, again, we are going to hold another session for another 2 CPD so that you can have your 4. And then many more will come in January if you look at our calendar. So karibu sana Nelly, and we are happy to have you, and especially from the NGO world and the international. We are looking forward to picking those experiences from you as we interact with people from the local institution and also from the government institution, as you've had.
Awesome.
Alice, have you been able to join us? Alice Mayaka? Maybe she's still struggling. She had tried to call me. Who was going in next? Okay, you're able to unmute? Terry? Achiro, Frida, Helen? Terry is saying, I'm among those who are multitasking and looking forward to learn. Thank you very much, Terry. We'll learn together. Anyone else who is locked? Margaret Mutegi, you are able to unmute?
Good morning. My name is Anne.
Yes, Anne. Are you the same as Anne Joel?
No, I'm Anne Masharia.
Oh, Anne Masharia. Karibu sana.
I'm a HR professional, and I'm joining this to earn my 2 CPDs and also to sharpen my skills.
Great. CPD, it's a big thing now, and to sharpen your skills. I'm also learning, as I said when I was introducing myself, as much as I have my 18 years of experience, I'm a full-time learner. I keep on learning every day because you can never learn enough. So for me, another aspect that I have is I'm a continuous learner, and I learn through training. I learn through interacting with people. I learn through taking different courses. Even as we're talking, I'm also a student. I'm trying to expound my scope so that I can still do both legal and also HR, and probably concentrate on employment matters. So learning is very cool. Thank you, Anne. And Joel, you are able to unmute? That's okay. I believe the others, they are in the category of, I'm sure there are those people who are already back to their offices after the festivity, and they are still multitasking or at home. Helen, you wanted to say something before I lock you out? Daniel Kibet, good morning. Sorry, I'm among those who are multitasking, hoping to be equipped with persuasive skills. We respect that. That's very good. Joshua, if you're able to unmute kindly so that we don't have interruptions as we start. Rose Mutashi, you wanted to say something? Just a quick introduction.
Yes, I want to say good morning to all of you.
Oh, great.
Morning.
Any expectation? Good morning, Rose.
Oh, thank you. I want to say that I'm also Alana. I'm still expounding on my CHRP course, please.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, please.
I know we were waiting for Alice Mayaka. She had really wanted to start with us, and then I'm sure you're looking for her so that she's able to. But for the purpose, Helen has said, good morning, Helen here. Looking forward to learning and interacting with other HR professionals. She's not able to unmute. Silas, your hand is up.
Oh, mine is not up. I'm just unwell.
But oh, sorry, you're a bit unwell.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So that I think I'll try to put it down for you. Maybe that by mistake. Yes.
Yeah.
Maurice, your hand is up. I can see. Maurice, or is it by mistake? Maurice Mandere. That's cool. So with that, Anjoel has said, good morning to everybody. I'm unable to speak for now, but following, if able, I will actively participate. We are happy for all of you. And with this, I will, Maurice, your hand is still persisting? Yes, good morning.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be on this call. In fact, this morning I had to worry Danny with some login details, but he managed to share. So my apologies for joining a little bit late. I'm also an HR practitioner, and I would want to share experience mostly in this course. Thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think now we are good. We can start. I can see Kinyanju. He's saying habari asubuhi. Good morning to everybody. He's not able to unmute. But as we proceed, I really love an interactive class that we are able to share our experiences. So you could still stop me, say something, introduce yourself, say this is what we do in our workplace. The other person say, I have this experience, so that we are able to share. So with that good introduction, I think the room is already warm. We know who we are dealing with. We have had a lot of HR practitioners, a lot of seasoned people. I like the people who introduce themselves. I'm a seasoned HR practitioner because you have been in that role. You have learned, you are still learning. So you are among the gurus we have in this country. And I like also, again, we have the diversity of people who are really aspiring to join into the mainstream HR, and also people who are in other fields. And I know Cyrus is unwell and he's unable to introduce himself. You could have loved to hear. I know I was with him last week, and we have a good diversity in terms of our class. So with that, I think first things first, I would really ask one person to just volunteer and start us off with a word of prayer. Then we can dive into our topic of today. Any volunteer? Rose, please proceed. Rose, were you volunteering? I can see you on unmute.
Yes.
Yes.
Let us pray, please. Father, in the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we want to thank you this morning because of this far that you have brought us since the starting of this year, my Father, that we have had so many problems, but you tried to care for each one of us. We thank you for the gift of life, my God. We thank you for each and everyone, my Father. We thank you even for Rhoda for her continuous zeal to continue making us have more knowledge in CHRP, my Father. We pray that you may continue blessing her and even blessing her friend Catherine, my God, as they have continued to teach us throughout the year. Thank you, God, as you are going to start this lesson, my Father. Be with us as we start, and as we are going to close, you will be with us. And for this, I pray in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much, Rose. And thank you for remembering Catherine. She's enjoying her festivity. And I know she will join us before the close of this year and probably take us through the negotiation skills.
Yes.
So allow me to share my screen just to show us what we are looking forward to going through in our next 2 days. And as you saw in the topic, what we want to focus is on for the next 2 days. It's about persuasive communication skills. Persuasive communication skills. What comes to your mind when you hear or when you saw the topic persuasive communication? What is persuasive? What is just communication? And what do you think it entails to do a persuasive communication? Of course, I had a lot of people saying, I'm here to refresh myself. I'm here to learn more. So and the beauty with this class is that we are not dealing with the starters. There are people who have been in the experience and we have known. How do you feel by the end of maybe conveying a message that you have been able to persuade your audience? Some of the attributes or anything that you know about persuasive communication? Let's hear.
Okay, I may try.
Yes, please.
Okay, according to my understanding is when you're persuasive, you're convincing to some extent. You're able to influence people's decision.
That is good. So you're able to convince people. You are able to bring people into your way of thinking. You are able to, because you're doing it with conviction, you have and the enthusiasm that they believe. So you become believable. Any other trial? That is very correct. And you have largely summed what we are going to learn. Any other? What is communication? How does normal communication or ordinary communication differ from persuasive communication? And what is the role of communication in persuasion?
Let me give it a try. Yes, and I would liken it, and I know we don't like doing politics.
Yes,
there is one group that was said it was undecided yesterday in the opinion poll. So persuasion skill is about tipping them over to make a decision and take a step.
That is very brilliant. And don't even apologize that we don't want to dive into the politics, because persuasive skills, they're not just applicable in our profession, just in our HR role, in our offices. It comes right from as simple things as even convincing you to join a training, writing a simple email to your colleague asking for some help. Maybe you want to take a break and you want them to cover for you in certain days. That is where persuasive skills. It may be when you're even discussing with your children back at home. It is the festive season. How did you convince them? How did you persuade them, for some of them, to agree to go to Shags, or to not take this and to go to this hotel, not take a holiday, take the holiday early, or you delay it into January? How did you convince them that you also needed to come back to Nairobi a bit early? Even when you're talking to your spouse, sometimes you really have to wrap your message so well so that by the time you go to convey that message, you're able to convince them. You are able to influence them to making a decision and to looking at things maybe in your own ways. Actually, politicians are some of the best leaders that we have. I can say leaders in quotes who use persuasive communication. And we always wonder, how do they convince us, maybe during the polls, that we can be able to vote for this person, knowing they are not leaders, knowing they are not people with integrity? There's something they do. They wrap up that message. Maybe they take what we call the manifestos of their party. They break it down, those complex terms and the policies, into very simple things that relate or touches our emotions and our hearts. And maybe the humanitarian side of saying, and then we end up saying, I think this party has something for us. So those are some of the aspects that comes into playing into the persuasive. Any other? Before we go to some of the areas we apply, in fact, you have mentioned some of the areas that we apply persuasive skills is in the politics. Any other areas in our workplaces that you think persuasive skills will be applicable? Yes, try, go for it.
I think it is a way of convincing or influencing a person or persons to cross to your side, and it has to be a two-way where feedback is necessary.
That is very
because
true,
you
Rose.
cannot. Thank you.
But you're convincing someone to move from their position to your way of looking or to your side. so that they are able to support you. So one of the importance we see, when you are able to do your communication persuasively, you are able to draw support to yourself and to get the buy-in. Any other in terms of the HR professionals where you have to apply persuasive skills during your everyday work?
I'm also thinking of maybe as a head of HR.
Yes.
When you want to convince the board to do something,
yes,
and to get their buy-in, you have to wrap up your proposal or your suggestion in a way that is appealing to them.
That's a very good example. When you're doing board presentation, you want to pass this policy, you want to pass, maybe you have to come up with a board paper, how you convince them. What kind of data do we normally use? At times you are forced, even for a policy to actually pass, to use some statistical data to actually show them that if we are not able to act at this point, then we are likely to lose a lot of manpower, or there is a lot of cost that is being wasted if you do things this way. So when you want to push a policy paper, when you want to push maybe something for the board to consider, you actually tailor your board in such a way, you give them the background, the current scenarios, the challenges that you're experiencing, what are the benefits, and then you're able to appeal. And again, as you're wrapping that message, you'll also see you have to put something that will attract them, something that will put some interest on them so that they can stop what they're doing to actually listen to you and say, I think she has a point. If actually we don't do this, this is likely to happen. So it moves from a simple email to a colleague in the department that you need some help, all the way to the board. Any other example?
Rhoda, during union negotiations for CBAs, we also use persuasion a lot to convince the other party.
That is very correct. So those people who have unions and very strong unions in your workplaces, and you have to go for negotiations, for you to be able to negotiate with those parties, you have to be very persuasive. You have also, and for you to be able to be persuasive, that means you have to really understand their needs. They have to you must be able, there's someone I need to mute their mic. There's someone who, I think he has muted. We're having some interruptions, but I think the person has muted. That's okay. So when you're going for CBA negotiations, some things you have to do is you must understand the needs of the staff, the needs of the union. You also must understand what is their interest in these negotiations. You must understand their pain points, so that by the time you're coming up with a proposal or a counter proposal for the CBA, you are already trying to incorporate some of the needs or their requests that they have. And you'll be able to touch them and you tell them, if we improve this, and you can even introduce new benefits for them. One thing that I've seen even working, like you throw in something like disability allowance for those people who don't have, and you tell them, as management, as the board, we have sat and said, we actually noted we have some staff who are on wheelchairs who may need maybe the allowance for the disability guide allowance. And because of our good heart, we have sat and thought, and we have thought, if we give this, it will promote the welfare of the employee. You go for things like the vacations, the leave allowance, because they are once off, and you're able to look at some of the things that they will need that will entice them, and then you give it a bargain. The other thing that we are going to learn when you come to persuasive, or let me push this question to you. Someone said persuasion skills, it is trying to bring the other people to your side. What about the people who are very sharp and they think they are very good persuasive people and they are very good persuaders, but they blackmail the others into doing something? So in the temporary or in the short run, you are able to convince them and they are able to do what, but after some time, they feel like these ones, we got a raw deal, or we were How would you comment to that? Is that still persuasion? And do you think that is effective persuasion? In your own opinion?
It is still persuasion, in my opinion, but it is not effective because it is short-lived.
It is short-lived, and it's likely to backfire on you because they'll feel they were hoodwinked.
Yes.
And then what happens to that, it erodes the trust. That if you are to go to communicate to these people or to negotiate in future, you can imagine it's a union, Then 3 months down the line after the implementation of the CBA, they actually see that the negotiations they did or what the management offered was not in good faith. Do you think by the time after 2-3 years you go for negotiation, they'll have established some level of trust?
No.
They will not. And it is likely to backfire because it's not long-term. Polycarp has said this can be applied at the workplace to in terms of the salary negotiations, brainstorming session, and also in the town hall meetings. I'm also looking at the comments so that we don't lose anyone. And I think we have covered much, and I've been able to look at any comments. Let me see if there are still some hands up. I can see one hand is up. No, Silas, I think, am I able to help him lower his hand? That one I understand. So I think it's only for Silas, so that's okay. So with that kind of background, then we can begin our topic. And the way we normally, I like starting my training in that I want to have 2 volunteers to read for us a case study. There's a case study here, especially that is very related to HR, what we normally do. I can give you an example that when you are trying to give someone an offer, an employment, of course, someone has gone through the interview, they have come up as the best candidates, but you know they are working for this organization that you really want to pick from, but maybe the salary is almost equal to what you're offering. Your company maybe is much lower status from where they're coming from. And as HR, now the CEO has said, this is the best candidate that we've got, go and negotiate for them. And the role that you have been given or the responsibility that has been put on your shoulders, it is for you to negotiate and convince this best candidate to agree to come and work for an organization. And you have to be very careful the way you do your negotiations so that you do your negotiations for someone to come into your organization that they'll be able to fit and give you service for some continued period. You don't want an employee that you are going to really push a big bargain to them. Then when they come to the organization, they see the hard bargain that you pushed so hard, it is not even similar to the people who are there. You push them too low to the salary that after they come and settle for a month or 2 months, they feel like they were deceived. And probably they don't even finish their probation, or after 1 year, we are having a turnover. So as we're doing our salary negotiations, when you're trying to convince an employee to take up a higher role, probably a promotional role, what are some of the things that we can put that are genuine, that are responsive to the worries and the concerns of the employee, that after they get the offer, then they are able to settle and they are happy and to give you the very best. So the case study that we have, it's a case study of an employee who was one of the best salespeople. Then he's been given an assignment, which is on a promotional job, which is an area manager role. But this organization required him to relocate to a different country, that is China. And then you'll find that this staff, as much as he's the best who can set up the best market for them in the China, he had his own concern as an employee. I always say when an employee comes to your work organization, you have hired them as a profession. They are supposed to work for you. But this person comes as a person. They have their families, they have their personal careers and their goals, they have their worry. So how are you able to unpack that so that the goals and the objectives of the organization, the growth of the organization are aligned to the needs of this organization? So we'll see such a case study, and somewhere in the middle, I will post and I'll ask you maybe what would you have done as the seasoned, experienced HR professional that you are? What are some of the attributes that you could have used to convince that employees? So if I could pick Polycarp, are you able to go through with us the case? Are you able to unmute and read for us?
Yes, Madam.
you can do that. Polycarp, any other volunteer? So I want Polycarp to be the employee, and then I want someone to be his boss who is trying to convince him. Who can volunteer? Alice, karibu sana. We were waiting for you and we missed you, but I'm happy to see you in the forum. Karibu sana. Who would want to go with Polycarp? Nelly, you'll give it a trial? Or any other volunteer? So we'll go with Polycarp. Polycarp, I'll be your boss, and at the end of the day, you'll tell me whether I've convinced you or not, but that's okay. So what we are going to cover for the next 2 days, we are going to look at what is persuasion, which basically we have already expounded on that. After we look at what is persuasion, we'll also look at how persuasion works. How does it work? How do we wrap our messages? How do we convey the messages? How do we deliver? We'll also look at the role of persuasion and maybe the importance of persuasion in our communication. Then we'll also go through some steps on how we develop the persuasion process. And after we do that, we look at the interconnection between communication and also persuasion. And we look at the role of communication in persuasion. And we'll also use what we call the IDA for persuasion writing. And IDA, maybe just to expound, is the steps that we normally use to arrive at persuasive writing. And that is, we grab someone's attention, that A for the attention. We create the interest in them. Then we are able to elicit their desires. And then we action on those desires that we have brought about. And then we'll also look at what we call the rhetoric of persuasion. And mostly this is used in leadership to just throw in the rhetorics and how to see how it works. So Polycarp will go. So in this case, we have Gerard. Gerard is a senior sales executive at Leonia. And Frank is actually his regional manager at the same company. So for the aspects that Polycarp, you'll be the Gerard, I'll be the Frank, then we can take on the case together. So just for introduction purposes, what is coming up is Gerard has recently been offered a position in one of the Leonia overseas office in China for a period of 2 years. However, Gerard is not very sure he should take up this offer due to various personal reasons that you'll see. And some of the reasons that he has is, at the background, he has 2 children, and 2 of his children are in high school. And as we all understand with the kids in high school, you'll find like the kids are already settled in the school they have friends, and they are really okay. So trying to move them to a new town, a new country, it will really destabilize, and they're already performing in their current school. The other concern that Gerard had is he had a working spouse. The wife would not be too happy to leave the job she's working, to move abroad, just maybe to be a housewife with Gerard. And again, at her workplace, that's the wife, she had actually really worked hard for a promotional position that was about to come. So Gerard is torn between the wife relocating to China with him, and he's also an active professional who has a job, and her promotion was around the corner and was likely to happen the same year. So let's look at the conversation. So I said I'll be the Frank, and Polycarp, you read for me what is in pink, which will be maybe the Gerald, to just see at the end of the day whether we can be able to convince you to go to China for this. So hi, Gerald, how is work going on?
Work's great, Frank, but you must have heard about the position they offered to me in one of the offices in China.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I know about that, and I have wanted to speak to you about the same. Is this a good time to discuss it?
Sure. It will feel good to discuss the situation with someone. I can't broach the subject at home before I myself have had a clear idea about what I want to do.
So I heard that you have been offered a position as an area manager.
Yes, that's right.
So why are you thinking twice about such a great offer? You know, it will take you at least another 5 years to get that position in this office. This place is just so saturated in terms of opportunity to grow.
I know that, but I have certain personal issues that are making me confused about it.
And what issues?
It's just that my kids are in high school and are well settled here in their current school. They have a nice and close group of friends. I do not want them to move. I don't want to move them to a new school, especially at such an important juncture of their school days. They will soon be pursuing their graduation in college. I do not want them to face the hassles of adjusting and settling in a new school in alien culture.
I see. I can understand that.
That's not all. My wife works as a senior technical writer at Howard Inc. She hopes to be promoted to the position of team leader this year. She has really worked hard for this promotion. I just cannot ask her to give it all up and move to China.
That's a real shame. But you do have a point there. Your kids and wife won't be happy about moving to China at this juncture in their happy and settled lives. Hi, I have an idea. Why don't you speak to management and let them know that these are the issues that you have and you could take up this offer only on certain conditions?
Now, you can understand my confusion. I am so tense, I just can't make up my mind.
You can tell them that you'd be willing to move to China if they allow you a week's leave every 6 months to come back and meet your family.
And what are those?
And actually, you are supposed to have asked me, and what are those? Then I give you the first one, that you can tell the management that you'll be willing to move to China if only they allow you a week's leave every 6 months to come back and meet your family. I'm sure they would. They are really hard pressed upon finding someone from the head office here to fit the role of area manager in their Chinese office. They need someone who can really take up the challenge to develop the market and the client in that area. They know they have chosen the best man when they chose you.
Okay, we can proceed because I should have asked the question. Do you think they would agree to it? Which I'm going ahead with the response.
I think that's true. True. Moreover, it would also help you to get into a leadership role where you would be handling a team of your own. It is a golden opportunity and one that I think you should not miss.
Thanks, Frank. I too am looking forward to getting into such a role. It will be such a great move for my career.
You'd not get a chance to get into a leadership role so easily in this office. You know that, right?
Oh, yes, I know that. There are so many people competing for such roles in this office. I think I should speak to the management openly about my issues and also suggest the plausible solution that you give.
Sure, you should. I would also personally speak to them and convince them all the same. Be ready to go take up this offer and move to China. After all, it's just for 2 years. After that, they have promised that they will move you back here. Think about the global market experience that you'll get in this position. It is an offer too good to be true.
Yes, Frank, you're absolutely right. Why didn't I think of all this before? I could definitely move temporarily for 2 years to China and then come back while my family can stay here during that period. My career would get a fresh new boost and their lives would also not get affected. I think it is a great idea. Thanks for talking to me, Frank. I couldn't think like you.
You're most welcome. Anytime. Go for it, Gerard. So from the class, you have seen what the conversation between me and Gerard has gone. Do you think I've been able, maybe to start from Gerard, do you think Polycarp have been able to convince you?
Yeah, from the tabulation of the presentation, you've managed to convince Gerard. From a personal perspective, it will be an issue.
It will still be an issue.
Yes.
You will not have been convinced. Let's hear from the rest of the class. What do you think of our conversation, the content?
I can try.
Yes, Kinyanjui, try. Go for it.
I think it's like what Palkapa said. On paper, yes. But when he goes back home to speak to the wife and the kids,
the ground will be different.
Yes.
What's so really?
Yes.
What do you think? What do the rest? If you're in the HR, I'm happy we are HR. Mostly we are the people who do this, not even the area managers. How would you have done it differently? How would you have convinced this employee? Because the CEO has told you, Rhoda or Kinyanjui, you must convince him for him to be able to move to China. It's a promotional role. And locally, it is not easy to get such role. Nelly, tell us.
I think for me, the question we didn't ask him is, have you discussed this with your family and what do they feel?
Actually, they had not discussed at this point.
Yeah, so it should have been part of this. It should have been part of this persuasion where, I understand your issue pertaining to the family, your children and your wife's promotion, but have you shared this with them? Because then they would have encouraged him even, by the time you're talking to him, he already knows what the true feeling of his family would be.
Because he's just having fears at the beginning. But maybe with the discussions that we had, do you think, thinking of the wife on the other side and the kids, that he'll be coming back for 1 week in 6 months, do you think they'll be convinced?
I would not even offer a week, knowing the distance. I would have asked the company, please, would you give me 2 weeks after after every 6 months to go back. So in my position, I'll give him a better offer instead of 2 weeks, instead of 1 week into 2 weeks.
And that's a paid vacation. Maybe paid once, or maybe even the flight cost you could pay. I know many international companies will pay for you once in a year, but then the other one probably he can cater. Those are some of the things you could entice with. Let's see, Alice. Alice, welcome.
Yeah.
Kindly introduce yourself, then you can contribute. Karibu sana.
My throat is a bit rough, but I would like to contribute by saying I would like the one traveling with Gerald.
Yes.
Gerald could bargain for a little more. For example, he could demand that once in a year, the company gives his family tickets to come and visit him when it is not in between his leaves. And pay for them a ticket once a year. And then, like somebody said, 1 week is not quite enough. So that they feel motivated about the whole situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you very much, Alice. Any other? Those are very good points we are getting. Who else?
I think also.
Hello.
Pauline. Pauline, go in first. Then we can have Rose.
Hello, can you hear me? So I think
we can hear you.
Yeah, I think also in persuasion, the one thing or the number one thing the employee wants to feel is heard. And so I think the opportunity here is to acknowledge that these concerns are valid and perhaps use an example to bring it home. So maybe share an example you've seen of, a colleague who was able to achieve all those different goals. And sometimes it's not even that they'll still come to an equal place. It's also just sharing with them the value or the opportunity cost. So what is the value of taking up this offer, but it's not, right? So it's you're taking up 2 years of your life. Yes, you'll be away from your family, but here is what the benefits. So that now they are weighing in the benefits versus the inconveniences. Those are my two points here.
That's a very good point. Your 2 points that you're saying there. So you're trying to demonstrate to him there is the potential for growth, and you can see, as Frank is telling him, actually that opportunity doesn't come easily. It might take him actually 5 years to stay locally, maybe in Kenya, for him to get such a leadership position. And furthermore, he's actually going further and telling you're sacrificing for 2 years and ensure that the promise that the management has made that you're only going to set up the office for 2 years. And after 2 years, you'll be back on a higher role, on that higher role. That is very good. and you'll have gotten the exposure of global experience that probably a lot of people don't have. And you can see the trust that you have in management. And actually also trying to tell him, you know, you are among the best people. They must have made the right choice. For picking you, they know you have what it takes. You know, that also praising him. Let's hear. We were to go to who? Yes, Rose.
It's Beatrice.
Beatrice, go for it, yeah.
I would say that I like the way the boss has handled the situation up to this point, because at least he listened to what Gerald had to say and considered his issues.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd like to add is Gerald can still go to the management and put in his suggestions based on what his boss has said.
Yes.
But he should tell the management that I will give you a final decision once I discuss with my wife, so that, and his family, when he goes back home to discuss with the wife, he has the full information that this is what is on the table and this is what they're willing to do for me. What do you think? Then he comes back and gives his final decision based on that discussion.
I love what you're speaking. I think you are echoing also what Nelly said, because at this point, he had just been given an offer, but he's a bit confused. He doesn't even know how to approach the family. He had not even discussed with anybody. Then he said before he internalizes and deal with it, those are ideas that could not even come with his mind. I think he was just seeing the resistance he could get from the family. But already he has some 50% of the idea that he can bounce back. And I love the idea. Now that he has that, this is what he has been told by Frank. His wife is also a professional. Now he goes sit with the family, the wife and the two kids, bounce the idea to them. Let's hear. Probably the wife may even give her some better demands to make to the management. Then when he's well packed, he has talked to his confidant, who is a friend. He has talked to his family. Now he's bold enough to go and sit with the management. And by the time he's coming to sit with you as the HR, the management, he knows what are deal breakers and what he cannot take. And he can know that whether he'll take the deal or not, because he has consulted his confidants and the main stakeholders. And that is what actually happens to when people, you're negotiating for them the offer. They'll say, let me bounce it back with my spouse. Let me go discuss it, then I'll get back to you. Rarely you'll give someone an appointment letter and they just sign through the dotted lines. They'll say, I'll carry the letter. Can I return it tomorrow or after 2 days after discussing with my family? That is very good. Rose, you wanted to say something? Thank you very much, Beatrice. And maybe before Rose comes in, we will see various importances of persuasion. Probably one of them we said, we are trying to convince the people to change their mind and to come to your side of view. The other would, you are trying to change their attitude. You are also trying to create their interest, so that maybe the way they look at things, they start looking at them from a different perspective. So there are different roles and there are different importances of persuasion. And persuasions are used for different purposes. So we'll see all the importances and the purposes, and we'll see how actually all these are aligning together. Rose, you can take it. Rose, your hand was up. You wanted to say something before Beatrice? I think she's unable to unmute. Her hand is still up. Any other person who wanted to make a contribution in terms of that? Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Joshua, we can hear you.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I think Gerald did not exhaust in terms of what his worries were. He should have made a proposal to the company if it could be shifted to the place for 2 years, because there are international schools that probably you can transfer the same credit to that school. And most of the international employers do provide education for 2 children, and probably discuss an alternative employment for his wife, given that she's also a professional.
So those are some of the things probably, as someone said, if he goes back home and now on a round table during dinner, discuss with his family, Maybe in his mind, we normally think, especially when you're dealing with teenagers, you might think they are well settled, they have their friends, they'll have challenges moving. And if they hear an opportunity to go to China, they might jump in and say, tell them whether they can move with us. And they're ready to move. Probably, if the wife, because of the promotion, is not able to move at that point, he could also ask for a house because he's moving with the family. Issues like even the house, they normally get the utilities and the house support, the house managers for them, because he's moving with the kids, or the boarding facilities. Those are some of the things, because you don't know even how the kids will react. These are teenagers. Maybe they would love to go to a new country for 2 years and come back. That's a very good point, Joshua. We may think we know them, but they may react differently. But you can see, I think Frank, what he was trying to deal with is his concern. He doesn't want to destabilize the family. He doesn't want them to move from that school. That is his worries. Maybe the family will react differently. Any other? Or we can proceed. I think generally we have a very good start about the introduction of this topic, how we use persuasion skills, even in HR profession and also in other fields. So just a brief introduction. It says, persuasion is critical for success of every walk of life, whether personal and professional. And we have seen that. So Gerard, professionally, he's actually using it to negotiate for an offer. But again, even him as Gerard, he'll also have to upskill his persuasion skills, not come from a level of being confused to a knowledgeable level, to be able to convince the wife or the children. Probably he doesn't want to move with them as well. That is why he's taking up this proposal. They might interject, but he also have to wrap his message. By the time he's taking it to the wife and the kids, he should be able to persuade them and to negotiate with them so that they come to a win-win situation for everyone. And actually, an effective persuasion skills, it is always looking for a win-win situation for everyone, so that at the end of the day, everybody feels happy, everybody feels contented and satisfied with the decision that will be arrived at. Then we learn about this now in more details, and that is what we are going to cover. Let's see. I already explained about the objectives of this training, and now we start with what is persuasion. So I would ask someone to just read for us what is persuasion, the next 2 slides, so that we are able to, and maybe give a comment after you read for us. What is persuasion? Anyone can volunteer? Let's interact. Let's take part in this.
Okay, persuasion is the process of communication that is intended to induce belief or action, and of moving others by argument to a position or a particular course of action, either temporarily or permanently. Persuasion is believed to be both an art and a science.
Great. Why do you think they say it's an art? Why do we say persuasion is an art that we can master?
It requires some level of skill.
It requires some level of skills. So that is why it's a science. Why is it an art? When you say something is an art, what does that mean?
I believe it is also an art because when you do communicate, it is also important to use certain gestures that may move or may attract the person you're communicating to understand you better.
That is true, Joshua. Any other trial?
I believe it also involves creativity for it to be an art.
Yes,
you have to come up with ways, and you have to think outside the box.
You have to be creative to be able to persuade. Then you must internalize, you must understand, you must know the depth of this so that you can convince the other thing. Of course, we know there are people who are naturally have a talent to be very persuasive. They are just natural talkers that when they talk to you, they persuade you. But again, it's also an art because it is something that we can learn. It is something that we can enhance. It is something that if we don't have, we can develop with time and we can master and have mastery of the persuasion skills. Beatrice, you could continue, read for us the next slide.
Okay, there are several ways in which a person may be persuaded, such as follows. Choosing specific aspects or techniques that will persuade the person, making someone agree to your request when you ask them, making someone say yes to you, but also changing their attitude to your request, making someone say yes to you and also changing their perceptions, making someone say yes to you and also changing their behavior.
Good. So here, there is the change of attitude, or the first thing is actually you're trying to make them know. You are giving them more information. You are enhancing their skills and their knowledge. So probably the information they didn't think or they didn't have, you are impacting on them. And this way, you use your different techniques. There is also the impact of their attitude, that you're trying to persuade someone so that the attitude they are holding, they could have a change of attitude and to start looking at things differently. Because what you're trying to invoke is their interest and their attention. Again, your persuasion could also lead to people changing their perception and also their behavior. So they start behaving differently from how they used to behave. Let's look at the art of persuasion. Polycarp, read for us the 2 slides for the art of persuasion. We see why it's an art.
That's fine, madam. Persuasion is an art. You can get better and better with it. If you feel that you don't have an innate talent for persuading others, don't be disappointed, because these skills can be honed and developed with proper training and practice. People who always speak good things may feel that they are good persuaders, but that is not always the case. Persuasion is all about understanding what you want and what the other person wants, and then coming up with a win-win scenario.
That's true. Can we have examples of politicians probably in these countries and even with this Nairobi, who you think they are very good persuaders, they are able to woo the masses, but actually it doesn't last long. And people come to realize actually it was not a win-win situation. It was about self-interest. Any examples that you think in our country could be politicians or outside?
Brother, without stepping on anyone's toes politically, I would go to the Waititu scenario.
Exactly.
I think Kiambu dwellers thought they were getting a post-Kabogo Messiah, but then at ground level, it happened how it did.
Yes, and you see what happened after that. There are still the people who removed him. We've seen a lot of that. Continue with that. The next slide.
Persuasion happens everywhere. Yeah, it's omnipresent. You may have to persuade people for anything, right from the deadlines of a project to which person will do what chores at home. Yeah, that's a bit familiar. In the real world, it is sometimes difficult to ascertain whether your persuasion skills are good or bad. You may think that you are a good persuader, but in reality, it may be the opposite. Even before you persuade, you will have to know what can people be persuaded for.
Let me hear your experiences, especially with your teenagers at home. How do you, and actually Polycarp said that is familiar, how do you persuade your sons and daughters to clean for you the utensils or to clean that house, especially now that they're home? Do you at times feel this time you get it very easily? You just tell them this, I'll make you this, I'll order you food, and they move. The next time you'll try and they'll hear none of that. And you start doubting, is this the same person I've been dealing with? Let's share experiences. We said persuasion is applicable at home, at a personal level, at professional level, and also at national level. Let's hear our experiences. What do you think of that?
On the experience of teenagers,
yes,
for me, it's been to sweeten the deal and appeal to their benefit and just say,
sweeten the deal.
Yeah, you do your chores, you get your weekly allowance. You don't do your chores, you don't get your weekly allowance. Easy as that. Yeah.
It is us, because you know that allowance means a lot to them. So they'll happily do. And then at times they live and try to negotiate with you. Mom, what if we do this? I don't get my allowance, but I get to go to a movie. Or you take me this. Or you buy me a PS. Do you guys experience that?
Yes. For me, it's not ideally at the teenager level, but my boy is 7. So
7.
Yeah. So my dad is a former soldier. My mom is a teacher. So I'm used to a certain norm. Yeah, when you're told to jump, it is how high. So it was very confusing by telling my son to wear a sweater. Then he asked me why.
Why?
It was very confusing because I had never asked such a question.
You can't. There is no room for that.
Yes.
Is this coming to our workplaces? Is the same generation coming to our workplaces? Especially let's hear experiences.
Yeah, I think we are going to have this discussion next year where, we've been allowing them to work from home for the last 2 years.
Yes.
And then now you want to mandate them to work from the office, and they'll be like, excuse me, I can still be able to work from home. I have for the last two years. And so you'll really need to persuade them to really come back to the office.
Yes. Actually, that is something we have to really work really hard for the HR, because now people are used to the comfort of working from home, telecommuting, and now most organizations from January, we want now people to come back to the office. I'm sure everybody is listening to these statistics. They're not rising because we are used to working from home and also virtually. So how do we convince them? And how do we plan to deal with it? Nelly, what are some, I'm sure you're also in this field, what are some of the things that you're putting in place? Are we now going back to the old norm that we were, that we'll all be working physically, or are we changing our policies and tweaking them so that we are able to accommodate both groups?
I think for me, it's change of policy. And because even as much as people have worked from home, if you look at productivity is a bit different. And what is going to work for my company currently, or what we are considering, is just change of policy to know that the only reason for working from home, even if we have flexi working, is pandemic, for example. But the policy requires that we work in a certain way. And I'm worried about persuading children based on giving them rewards for them to do work. Because the day a reward will not be available, for example, we could be out of work. And so I'm not able to give them allowances. It means that they will not work from there. So I believe at home, especially, I think more communication of the benefits, of the benefits of working together is a better position as opposed to rewarding, especially financially. Yeah,
I agree. That's her thought. And you can see the way it's also translating to our high schools. You have heard the song Sipangwiki, that the kids now are the one who are demanding when they will close and when they'll open, that if they decide on Monday is the day to close, they'll walk out of those gates or they'll ban the schools. Have we contributed to this as parents? And how do we change the wave? Because we are the first line of responsibility. How do you think we are going to be dealing with children? I said probably for Gerard, he's thinking he doesn't want to disabilize his kids, but maybe the kids want to go for the international schools in China. And they'll start telling him stories of China that he has never even heard, and even sites that they want to visit. And for that reason, they want to come for 2 years. And they'll not even care where the grades are transferable or not. What they want is the exploration of going to China with daddy. So how are we going to do it differently? Let's hear from the old people, the way we are bringing up our kids, using rewards, being blackmailed. And then when they come to the society or from the school, we start now complaining about our education system. That's here. But that's how we are doing. We are all different. Every answer is right. We are not criticizing everyone. We can see even how the society is changing up. Let's hear from something. Daniel Kibet. Sorry, Joshua. Joshua, yes, go in.
I want to say something. Even when we persuade or try to convince or incline our children, we should not use forms that I may call corruption, making promises that only move them through that because of that. We should be able to make them to understand the benefits of what is being done, whatever is going to be gotten out of the process that we want to be done. To me, I think that is more important than just to promise to buy them shoes or to do that, so that every time I want the compound to be clean, then I'll be buying shoes. And this is something that is in the long run, not just something to convince them today, and then tomorrow they're not able. So even as we persuade people, it should be based on facts and the benefits that will be gotten from it. Thank you.
And again, we are not telling them to do this household chore so that they can be doing for us in their old age. It is for them to be responsible. That even when they go to high school, they can take a bath, they can take a shower, they can clean their shirts, they can clean their beddings. I'm seeing an uprise when you're picking kids, they'll come from almost from the mattresses because they can't clean them in school and they have to be taken home for them to be cleaned. Those are things that we are having. And actually, we said we are here to learn from each other. Some of us are more senior parents and they have seen it all, or the way they have been brought up better than us, so that we cannot pick from each other. I think that's very good discussion. I don't think I've closed anyone. And yeah, so we can move. There's Daniel Muasa. Would you want to tell us something, Daniel?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. I think when we are doing this kind of persuasion, okay, professionally, I'm a mediator, and I do mediation for even peers, young children. Sometimes they tend to be very wise, even than their older parents, because sometimes a child would want to do anything, and but before doing that thing, they will ask you, what are you going to do? And they are also naturally good influencers. Sometimes you tell a child, okay, can you stay home and I will come later, I'll find you. Then the child asks, what do you bring me? Yeah, that child is trying to persuade you to do something for what they will remain doing. You know, now if you bring, then and you bring tomorrow, it becomes a right. If you don't, then you are on the verge of being perceived an enemy, yeah, or a tough parent. But I think sometimes as parents, we need to be open to them, that I may bring or may not, but this is your duty to do. Yeah, depending on the, okay, like me or my children are aged. When I'm giving them instructions, these instructions, I take them as adults, because they are. And whatever I tell them, it has a boundary.
Yes.
That as a parent and as your father, I want this thing done. This is what I want you to do. Then if somebody comes with that persuasion, Daddy, what would you do this and that? They will have a version of reframing their demands. Then I'll tell him, okay, you do that next time. I'm paying your fees in advance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these fees may not be very encouraging to them, but he knows he has a duty to read. Yeah. I've also been involved in some instances of where children have banned schools. Then when we investigate these some of these issues, we find that the home, a long time ago in our times,
yes,
the school was the best place we would go.
That is true.
Yeah, but nowadays, actually the home had a lot of chores, and maybe not good housing,
yes,
and we were not comfortable staying there, so we would want to go to school and remain there.
And better food.
And better food, and 3 square meals a day.
Yes.
So nowadays, we, as parents, have made our homes to be a holiday palace. You know, where a child wakes up and finds everything, and he can only live there using a remote and control the world. Yeah?
Yeah.
So when that child goes to school, they find the school is more uncomfortable now. And so the only thing they would do is to ban it so that they can go back to school, to home.
That is actually what is happening. That's what is happening.
Yes. So as we live with the children as parents, I don't think we should make the homes so comfortable for them. They should know it is our home. It is the home is mine.
They should be able to make their better home.
Exactly. So looking on the other side at the workplace, I think we need to influence people by persuading them, but this persuasion must have limits. Boundaries must be marked.
Yes.
Yeah. Let somebody not decide when to work and where to work. Like at times I had an instance where an employee said, I'm not going to work in this department. I'm interested in working in that one. Yeah. So I must be rotated to there. And if he was not, then he started shouting at his HOD. Then, and saying things that are unpalatable to the HOD. Then I told the person that it is the management to decide and who to rotate and to where.
That is true.
For the benefit, so that everybody gets his own share. You cannot be given your special shift, that you'll be working in a special shift in that place that you consider more comfortable. No. Yes, it is a matter of choice. You come to work, you do what you have been instructed to do. You are assigned duties, do them. If you don't want to do, then there are other measures to be taken against you. So actually, we should strike a balance. As we know, there is no type of management that is better than the other.
That is true.
Yes. So sometimes we should not forget the dictatorship has to be applied to some degree. Free reign cannot work alone.
It cannot. It cannot.
Yes, and this luxury should not be given to even our own children at home. Yeah, it has to be measured. It has to be measured. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And I like what you have said, that it is a balance. We have so many, Nelly, I can see your hand. I'll give you an opportunity to speak. There are many leadership or what you call the management tool that we learn about. We will learn about persuasion. We will learn about negotiation, but how do we apply them? Even at our home, we have to be able to strike that balance that we know, even this persuasion, when it comes to the home level, it has a limit. There's the far we can go. And if you don't take, then what are the repercussions? So we look at this along the lines of the policies. So even as you're applying these soft skills like the art of persuasion, there are other parameters that have probably to be looked at. Let's say it's a board paper you are taking to the board and you really want to convince that this is because you have come with statistics. But at that point of the business, is it affordable? There are these benefits that we want to negotiate for our staff, like the two weeks holiday, the issues of the ticket, but is it within the company policy, and are they affordable? Are they sustainable in the long run? That if we do it again for Gerard, if next time you're dealing with another case like for Frank, who has maybe a higher salary, it can still be replicated, so that when you do it for one, you can be able to do it again for someone else. Let's hear, Nelly, let's hear your comment.
My comment, it comes back to persuasive communication, and especially when one is a human resource manager. And I'm looking at human resource manager as a manager who manages resources and the human resource itself. And if I look at the scenario that has just been mentioned of this guy who is not interested in going to a certain shift or a certain department, I would go back to communication and mental health. For somebody to get to a point where they are very rude to their line manager, considering that there's consequences, first is to ask, what is the condition that makes this person be very uncomfortable, as opposed to you must do work because it's been given to you. You could break somebody and end up probably having confrontations that can go beyond expectation, those. So for me, and this is something I do very highly, is to manage people by calling this person as a human resource person to first understand why. Sometimes line management is not very, very human, let me say that. You must understand the skill of the manager who is managing other people, because you might have been given this position and you've never had the management capacity. So before you tell people you must do your work, which they must do, understand why they are not able to do. And it's the same as family, and you come back home. Why are you not doing the things you're supposed to do as a child, as a spouse, all those things? What are the challenges? And if we don't persuade based on challenges, the pros and cons, then we might miss out. That's just my comment.
So according to Nelly, it's what we were discussing, I think last week, that before we try to treat the symptoms and the impact on an issue, we should be able to go to the root cause of the problem. And we dealt with the topic of root cause analysis, that maybe these are just the symptoms that we are seeing on top of the service. What are the deep underlying issues that could be manifesting themselves into this, what we are seeing? So we dig down, what is with this employee? Does he feel wasted? Does it? But again, of course, what I normally tell the employee, it is good that we create that environment also as management, as HR, for people that are able to speak out or to bring their grievances that he has. Because if he has grievances, has he brought them to the attention of the senior managers or the HR, even as we are probing in those discussions? And they should clearly understand there's a difference between raising a grievance and also violating the policy. Because you can see if you're becoming abusive, there's the level of insubordination again that can not be condoned. So they should be able to communicate. And also maybe that employee should be able to persuade their line manager, or even you in your conversation with the HR, on how to pick. Because just like the people who are suffering from this alcoholism, I always tell them, we will never sack you or take you home because of alcoholism. But maybe the effects of that alcoholism, that disappointment, is what will take you home, because you'll start being violent. I don't think there is any workplace that will encourage actually violence or insubordination in a workplace. So when we have these town hall meetings, we should always encourage employees so that they are able to know how to raise these grievances. And we become so approachable that someone can come and tell you, these are the underlying issues, this is what I'm suffering on. Then the management, even beyond the senior manager or the supervisor, they can weigh the options and maybe make a decision. But probably, what if it's the employee who have an issue and he think he cannot get along with the people who are there, and that's why he need to move to another department? So those are some of the things. It's quite a delicate balance that we really need to, because what if we just, anybody who want to move from a different department, they come to HR and then they are moved. Are we empowering our senior managers? Or if it's the issue with their senior managers, are we building their capacity? Because it can also be blamed on us as the HR. When we promote people, are we promoting people to their highest levels of incompetency? Anytime that we promote people, do we expose them to those trainings like the supervisory skills, the senior management, the strategic leadership? Do we have tailored management development programs that we expose our leaders so that they are able now to come out from their technical specialist role to the generalist role of leaders and management, and they are able to deal with matters like people management skill? So it calls for a lot of wisdom, a lot of discernment, and a lot of balancing, because we don't want to have a floodgate of every employee. If I go to HR, they'll move me. And then how are you going to do your HR business partnership with the other line managers? Because we are supposed to facilitate and support their business. And that is why we exist, for that business. So we are all correct about that. but we need to have that delicate balance. I had someone's hand, or is it a comment on the chat? I think we can proceed. Anybody that I'm closing on that? Rose, you want to say something before we proceed?
Yes,
then we can move on.
And just before the end of the year, at our place of work, we had agreed to have the end of year party, but then disagreements arose just because of the venue where we are going to hold the end of the year party.
Yes.
Then those people living at the Rongai, Kiserian, they were disagreeing with those who are living at those sides of Kangundo Road, Babandoko, all that. Then they said those who are in Gong Road, they just want to please themselves. They don't want the party to come to the center of the town. But when I saw what they were saying, I just listened and listened. But lastly, I stood and told them that, first of all, I told them, first of all, that the end of year party, it is about the way we have been throughout the year. Then I told them, first of all, I stand before you so that I can recognize your cooperation and zeal for the work during the year that you have shown. And so, Nikawambia, so, my dear brothers and sisters, this party, it is not about competition. It is about to show our unity and love that we have had during the year. So we just want to go and celebrate a bit, and then we finish. So my dear brothers, I am urging you so that we can just decide on one place, and then we go as one team so that we can go and celebrate. Then when I told them that and we were 4 line managers. When I told them that I recognize their efforts, their zeal and love for their work during the year, and I appreciate them, then they felt so happy and they just clapped. They just clapped for me, and they said, one student said, Rose, we are going to go to one place and you are not going to hear us complain about where we are going to hold that party. Then we decided on one place, and then we went there, and it was done.
Thank you, Rose.
So I say persuasion is an art, and it's an art on how to win people to cross on your side, and it depends on the language that you are going to use. If you use the language that is not appealing, the people are not going to come to your side. So I started by recognizing their efforts, their love and zeal and everything. Then they felt so much happy. And at long last, we agreed on one place, and they said, let us go to Jiweke Tavern, and that's all. And they all agreed, and we went to Jiweke Tavern along Gong I don't know, along Gong Road. Yes, we went there. They agreed, and we went. Yes.
That's very good. Those are good experiences. And one thing that you'll also notice to persuasion when we're looking at further, and of course we are going to look at the hows of the persuasions, and we look at the do's and the don'ts of the persuasion. One of the importance and the role of persuasion, if you master the art of persuasion skills, you'll be able to unify your teams. For you to be able to unify the team, you are coming from a different opinions. Everybody are pulling differently. They have their own interests, they have their own opinions, but what you're trying to do, it is to unify the whole cause, and you come up with a win-win situation. So we look at the do's and the don'ts of the persuasion so that we know what are the mistakes that we need to avoid. Yeah, it's Jiweke Tavern. Then Jiweke Tavern's Gambo.
Tavern. It was Jiweke Tavern.
It was Jiweke Tavern.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we all went there.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So let's proceed. Let's look at the how. How do we do the persuasion work? You can see the controversy it can bring. You can see the division that it can likely to bring even between the HR and the management. I'm sure for those who say they are experienced HR, you have found yourself in a position where at times the management or even the CEO will challenge you that you don't look at the business needs, the policy, the affordability. You're just thinking about the soft skills, and some things cannot be accommodated. Some things we cannot give maybe the employee too much leeway and too much playing ground, that to the detriment of the business objectives and the goals. But then how do we achieve a win-win situation? Because we all aspire to be strategic HR leaders that we really understand the core of the business, why we are in existence, why we are doing this. And then as HR, because we are people managers and people skilled, we are able now to bring the people and the business to a middle ground that is a win-win for everyone. That is the kind of balance that we are trying to actually put. So let's look at how persuasion works. Persuasion works in different ways. We can have persuasion that works to the detriment of the person who is trying to persuade. And we can also have a persuasion that is working to the win-win of everyone, and it becomes. So what I've put in green, it is the bright side or the enhanced or the win-win situation that will have a permanent or a long-lasting change when you do that persuasion. The one that I've put in red, of course, it's where you think you have done it. It is very shallowly thought, and it's likely to be persuasion that is temporarily and does not last long, and it fades with time because of the counterattacks that comes with it. So we are going to look at the given flow chart shows the way persuasion works through two different routes. You can choose which route you want to, and of course, we'll always want to be on the upper route, and that you follow after an attempt to persuade people. So the first one is the persuasion attempt. When you're attempting to do a persuasion, to do a message, to convey a message, so you create your own message, then the first thing you have to look at, who are your audiences? The audience factor is very key. So the first thing is, when you're coming up with the persuasion message, who are you targeting? And you have to appeal to the needs of your audience. You have to connect with their audience. When you're dealing with the audience, again, this differs from audience to audience. The kind of rules and how you'll craft your message when you're dealing with your spouse, it is totally different when you're dealing with your children. Again, the way you coil your message trying to persuade your family, it is different when you're dealing with the people in your professional line and also the people that you're dealing with. Again, when you're coiling a message to persuade your team, your subordinates, and your followers, it will be a very different message when you're trying to persuade people who are on a higher rank or your superiors, or when you're dealing with your senior managers or even the board. And also, when you take that message to the board, it also has to be tweaked differently when you're dealing with external stakeholders. So you have to clearly know your audience. And for you to be able to know your audience, you must be knowledgeable about the component and the desires, the needs, and the interest of your audience. And again, you also have to package yourself in such a way that you create credibility. Are you credible enough to deal with that audience? Do you have what it takes in terms of the confidence and the authority, and also the mastery of the subject that you're taking to them? What if you're going to actually take the budget to the people who have more knowledge than you in budgeting or in accounting? You can see the way we always try to take it to management or to the board. The chair of the finance committee or the head of the finance are very critical people that even as you're coming to your budget, that you have to persuade. When you're coming up with the activities that you want to do in HR, those are people that you have to put in your mind. How are they likely to react? How are they likely to counterattack your proposal? And then you package your way in such a way that you're addressing your concern that they are likely to actually raise. And you must be good with your numbers and what you're trying to deal with. So for you to be able to have a win-win situation, you must have a high motivation and ability to think about the message. You must internalize, you must understand it. Then, in terms of how you process that approach, there must be deep processing, well thought out. You have thought about the worst case scenario. What are the best case scenario, the worst case scenario? What are the challenges? What are the things that you need to really take care about the risk involved, and how do you package them? That even as you're approaching this person, how are they likely to actually react to your message? And finally, you must think about the persuasion outcome, that you are not just persuading them for your numbers to pass through or this employee to take up the offer to China, but the change, he will arrive there and he's already disgruntled. So you are looking at it that after you do your persuasion, it must create a lasting change that resists the fading or any counter attack, and someone will not feel like they were shortchanged. That is the best and the highway. But then you can also decide, as politicians, we have seen them, to take the lower route where the motivation is not there. You're just looking at it. For me, is to tick the box. Is the number of people I'm going to recruit? Is the number of people I'm going to put on board? See, you wanted people. As much as I recruit for you, you are able to do that. So that is based on low motivation, ability to think about the messages. It is very superficial. You just think on it on very shallowly, but you're not looking at the long-term effect and the impact in terms of the audience. In terms of your processing, it is very superficial processing. It is focused on service features such as the communicator's addressing. If I'm able to address and maybe use words that are attractive, use big words, dress well, wear bling bling, and there are no arguments that are likely to, it becomes very superficial, and you may be able to appease them. But however, the persuasion outcome will be very temporarily changed, that is susceptible to fading or even counterattack or even people changing their mind. So that is how the persuasion works. So how do we persuade the others? When we go to the persuasion, what are the do's and the don'ts? And we said it is important that you should create an impression of yourself among others in order to be able to persuade them. The world forms its opinion on us largely from the opinion we have of ourselves. So as an individual who is carrying the message, what is your self-impression? Are you motivated? How do you believe in yourself? Are you confident? Are you confident about the message that you are delivering? Or you say, you know, the senior management have said, you know, they are saying, who are these who are saying? Are you believing in the message? Have you practiced yourself to be able to take it to the people? So the following are some of the ways through which you can create a good impression. The first and the foremost, don't wear a disguise. You need to be authentic. You need to be confident. You need to own your message. You need to believe in the message that you're going to deliver so that it can be able to convince the people and to persuade. So if you're just hiding it, that you have this, I'm just doing this for achieving this, or I'm doing, what if Frank actually approached Gerard and said, you know, I've been sent by boss to ensure that you go to China. But did you read any aspect of Frank speaking for his boss? It was a direct connection. He could feel his friend Gerard. He actually said, I'll also try to negotiate and to put a word to the management for you. I'll try to persuade them to emphasize the need that you have so that they can listen to you. The other thing that you should not do not go to a persuasion to win the war. It is not a war. Don't try to actually knock off the other party for you to carry your day. You should be flexible, that you can maybe listen to where they're coming from, listen to where they're coming and come up with a win. You should be able to actually align to their needs and also change the situation. You should not be going to drive so sharp bargains that even when you go to persuading, even the case of Gerard, by the time he's approaching the management, He should not make unrealistic demands that are not achievable. It is not the highest bargain that you are going to achieve through that persuasion that you become a winner and the other person the loser. That I go bragging, I knocked them off. It should be a win-win situation. Can we have a middle ground that we can persuade each other and come to an agreement? So even by the time Gerard is going to China, the management is not feeling like they are ripped off and even thinking, why, maybe twice, should we have gone for Rose and not for Gerard? It should be, we are happy to have achieved this together. Then we should learn to communicate effectively. That what you want to communicate, it is what you are communicating. You are not hiding something under the communication. How you communicate and what you communicate should be well aligned. And the other one, don't try to be perfect. This is where majority of us will fail because we want to be perfectionists. It is my way or the highway. I have to carry the day, or the message I'm saying, it cannot be changed. What I have taught, it is the only way. Someone said, there is no one fit management tool for all. The first thing I always tell people, understand your organization. Understand the environment you're working on. Understand the people you are dealing with. The solution should be tailor-made. You should not try to force us a round peg into a square hole. It should be tailored and a proper fit, and you can use multiple tools to your best comfort and the convenience, and you can always tweak them. So you should be agile and you should be able to be flexible, and there is nobody who is perfect. Even Jesus was not perfect. So don't try too hard to be a perfectionist. We always make errors once and in a while. We have issues. We have balls that are falling. So we should know that we should be able to be vulnerable and say, we may not know everything. And we learn from even the people that we are trying to persuade and try to understand the point of their view. Then you should get people talking about themselves. It is not about you who is persuading, taking the high seat and saying, I am the boss around here. Even as we are coming with the policy, of course, we always say the HR policy close this, and we are very good at that. Are we this stickler of the policies to the end that we cannot bend anything because the policy, the procedure has said this. So we become sticklers of the policy and we don't want to hear the people. So as much as we are persuading people, we should always get to know what are the needs. Actually, for you to do a persuasion, you are trying to deal with the values and the interest of the person you are persuading and your audience. It is about the audience. It is not about you. And so effective communication, it is about expressing our message to convey our ideas, but using what are the needs, what are the interests. If actually you are not responsive to the needs of the audience, it becomes just empty noise. What are we talking about? If it's my interest that by the end of this training, I want to finish these templates and I'll have delivered what I'm supposed. But what is the needs of that audience? Why did they have to come to class? So you must get people talking about themselves, then you can hear what their perceptions are and what needs are they trying to close. And then when you are doing persuasion, never tease and never be sarcastic about how people are expressing themselves. And I'm seeing some two hands now. Two hands. Let's hear what the participants have to say. Nelly, you want to add a point? And Rose, let's start with Nelly. Nelly, go in.
Sorry,
yes.
I erroneously raised my hand. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Rose, did you want to tell us something? I saw your hand.
Yes.
Yes. Please go on. Kindly unmute. So Nelly, you can lower your hand. Rose, you wanted to say something? Or it was by mistake?
My hand is lowered.
Nelly, your hand is up. Now it's lowered.
Good.
Rose?
What
Yes.
about that? Okay, Rhoda,
yes.
I just wanted to say that I'm proud to have you on this forum because you have really done it. I've always thought persuasion on another side, but today have realized that persuasion is an art. I didn't know whether it is an art. I just thought it is just a way you're pulling people to cross to your side. But today you have really taught me that, and the participant, that it is an art and a skill one has to have. So I thank you so much. You have delivered the point home. So I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much, and may God bless you so much, please.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Rose. I'm humbled. So again, as we had said, it is not about you delivering the message. It is about your audience. It is about your staff. If you're HR professional, you're not there because of your qualifications and the high grades and your CHRP. You are there to deal with the people. So if you're not responsive to the needs of the people and you cannot unearth that the soft and the part that people carry from home to the office to be able to align with the company goals. Of course, the people in the commercial, the business departments and the CEO, they are all thinking about the strategic plan, achievement of the goal, achievement of the strategic. But this person, we have realized, they have come with their personal home front. How do we help them to align so that the personal goals, their personal concern can be taken care by the business in a realistic way, and we can walk the path together? That is what we are here. Krista, let's mute our speakers if not communicating noise from the background. Yeah, kindly, if you're not speaking, kindly mute so that we are able to hear. Thank you for that. So this is just an explanation of what we explained. Don't wear a disguise. You can imagine someone who is so fake. It is like those photos you normally see. This is a wolf in a sheep. How do you feel when you're dealing with someone and then you come to realize this person is so fake, they are so superficial? So people are more smarter than you think. You may think they are really following or they really believe in the cosmetics that you have worn, the many things that you have done, but they see beyond. What is in our conscious mind on the forefront actually may not be so smart to analyze and see through the disguise. But when people go back and sit and reflect and activate their subconscious mind, they can actually be able to flag out the fakeness and the disgust that you're putting. Even as you're putting very good words, I'm really concerned. We have seen even people coming to the funeral. They are really crying, but beyond that, it is very superficial. It's just fake. So even you as a HR practitioner, never, and when you're trying to persuade, including your kids, please try to be genuine. When you're correcting them, they don't have to carry the day. Tell them with a lot of firmness, be assertive, and tell them it is for the good of everybody. I always challenge my son and tell him, if I'm able, probably I'm able to take you to very good schools. And you're telling me you don't want to go into this group of schools, you want to go to this intern. The only thing that I'll keep on challenging you, when I'm done with you, are you able to take your children to a better school that I can take you? Can you able to live a better life than the life I'm living? Because even the way we are bringing up our children, you can see, we are able to bring our children in so much comfort and better life. But do you ever see to think that what kind of life are they going to live without us? Or they are the same people who will struggle even to educate their own children, to even place food on the table for their own. Is it sustainable that what we are giving them, they can be able to take it to a higher level? Or they think mommy and daddy has worked hard for us and life will always be like this. We'll always be going for holidays. We'll always be doing this. So I'm seeing a hand up, okay, kindly. You can tell us as you proceed. You want to comment on something? Okay. Your hand is up. Probably that was by mistake. Someone has their mic on. Rose, kindly mute. Rose, kindly mute. We have some background noise. Great. That's okay. So you should not wear disguise when you are persuading or you're trying to negotiate with someone, because it actually affects the trust that people will have on you. We said don't drive sharp bargains. We say never try to humiliate others if you want to make a good impression. Instead, boost your own image so that you are confident, and you can even be able to comfortably take the counter attacks and the rejection. Someone, you might just give an offer and someone says no. Then if they say no, how do you feel about yourself? Do you go to a persuasion or a negotiation that people must say no? If they must say yes. That if they say no, if they give you a different line of thought, you are thrown off the balance. Or you feel like they have rejected you. It is not you they are rejecting, it's the offer. So you must be able to boost your own image and your own confidence. And not only do people dislike negative talks, but you are also getting a negative environment to persuade on if you are not able to do that. We said learn to communicate effectively. Communicating effectively is where you have to pause and listen. Listen to the people and what they are saying. Listen to their concern before you talk and you communicate. And we say one thing good persuaders have is in common is skills of using words. Learn to communicate openly, be honest, and passionately to persuade the other people. Then we say, don't try to be perfect. No one can fascinate every minute that you are a perfectionist. You know it all every minute. There are times that you need to learn, including as we deal with our kids. There are a lot of things we can learn from them. There are a lot of things probably. I'm also from that category of people when you are going back to school. School was like another, not even another home. It was better. We actually used to frown on long holidays because you have to go work in the farm. There is no enough food. You are struggling, but in school, you are able to have a good life. You are not working. You are just carrying books. You shower every morning. So schools have changed. What is it that is also happening to these kids in school? I was actually frightened when I had the strike and the banning of the dormitory or in Miranda School. How many students were in one dormitory? Is that realistic? Again, what is it that is causing more fear? In fact, I was talking to one of the parents who was telling me that the kids probably are afraid even to talk to us. One of their sons came back home, but they've been demanding to change school to a day school, but they are not opening up. But actually, she's lucky enough. She had their firstborn is actually in college, and it is a girl. So the secondborn, who is actually fighting to be taken back to a private or maybe a day school, confided in the sister and actually said, when we are in school, and he's in one of the biggest schools around that we all envy. When you go to a shower, he's a boy, someone will come and knock the shower and open the curtains and just start looking at you when you're taking a shower and pass very funny comments, or is on your vituna feature. And that is what the boy is so afraid of. But because they're afraid of the parents, they don't even know how to break such information. He actually confided to the sister who actually told the mom. And you can see the comfort of that child. What if you keep on forcing that child, because he's a good child, to be in that school? And we have this blanket condemnation. It is the way these kids are being brought. But you can see his fear. But probably, are they afraid of speaking to us openly? So when you try to be perfect, you appear to be fake and shallow. People will not believe in you and will not be able to trust you. Then get people talking about themselves. We said, if you want to persuade others, then show a genuine interest in other people's opinion and views. And if you can stimulate others to talk, you'll acquire a reputation as a good conversationalist, as well as a good person who have great interest in persuasion. And then we tried, never try to tease or be sarcastic. And we say teasing and sarcastic remarks are both aimed at self-esteem of the other person, who in this case is your audience. And do not tease or pass sarcastic comments as they threaten the self-esteem of the other person that you're trying to actually persuade, and it creates such a negative and hostile environment. And you may become less likable. This will make it more difficult for you to be able to persuade the other person. And that's all about how to persuasion works. Let's hear your reaction. Which point do you agree with? Which one do you disagree with? Which one do you have a contrary opinion? And which one do you think we can add to the whole of that list? I know the list is not exhaustive. Let's hear from you. You can put your comments in the chat. Yes, you can speak. Go.
I think the last one is what I agree with most. It will be very disappointing for staff members to come and they're opening up and then you're sarcastic.
You're sarcastic about, yes.
Yeah, to be very off.
And that this happen in our workplaces, especially like what Nelly said, at times our management are so specialist that they lack the people management skills, that they have not been developed. And you'll hear that when an employee comes and raise the issues, they had a problem with the spouse or they probably someone was slapped. Oh, niyo kiburi yako, or ulichokoza. Do we have those in our workplaces where we have had cases of a senior manager talking sarcastically to the staff, and they end up now, the staff end up actually not trusting their senior managers, or they end up blocking themselves from even further private discussions? Not just senior managers.
It does. It happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, what I've experienced is the lack of sensitivity. That human side lacks in most of those line managers. Like you say, there are two of the specialists. There are too much of the specialists that they lack the human aspect of it. Yes, the sensitivity lacks a lot, because you see the way they handle some issues and you're wondering, how could you even handle it like that? But to them, it's very normal. They're not seeing anything wrong with that. Yes.
Has it ever happened to one of us? We are also HR practitioners, but I always say, before you became a HR practitioner, the first thing that you are a staff. Has it ever happened to any of us that you go to express something very sensitive to your boss, and the way it is reacted, you shut down? And then you wonder, now you are the HR, who do you go to? Has it ever occurred to anybody? Probably you report to the CEO. You have this very sensitive thing, and you don't want him to start wondering, where is this? And the words that comes to you, now you are stranded. Who do you go to? Let's share experiences, and how do we deal with them? Let's share. Or has even happened to us that you have said this to someone and then they closed down on you, including our children and our spouses, without knowing? We are still sorting our souls to do that. Then we were still reacting. Which one do you? Yes.
Kinanji's hand is up.
Whose hand is up?
It was mine, but it was more of a reaction, not to respond to the questions that you asked. It was the first one that you had asked about a reaction or something.
Yes, what you agreed with.
Yeah, I think it comes to the third point that you mentioned about communicating effectively, because it also affects the credibility when you're getting into a persuasion environment. The credibility and how you've communicated before has created precedences and has formed credibility around what comes out of your mouth and anything that you communicate to others. So it's about how it affects the audience factors that you had mentioned. So that communication, and actually why we are here today, to just continue learning how to communicate effectively, because it affects the credibility that we carry with us as HR professionals, which again affects how you're able to get through to others, because they trust that huyu akisema, we can trust what is coming out of your mouth. So just reacting on that third bullet, which
That's very good.
I think for me is resonating, communicating effectively, learning how to communicate effectively.
On that note, I just remembered there are about 6 points that I had jotted down that I wanted to also share with you. Some of the key factors, actually, or the considerations that you have when you're trying to persuade someone I had summed it into 6 points. And the first one, probably they may not be in these slides, was the first key thing is to know your audience. I think I emphasized this. And it says persuasive communication addresses the audience needs, not your needs. It addresses their values. So when you're dealing with that person, what is it that they value so much? It also addresses their desires. And to me, this is the biggest thing, that persuasive communication addresses the audience needs, their values, and also the desires. Once you know that, then you'll be able to hack it. And if you address what is important to your audience, they will see you as someone who is similar to them. Then in terms of even preparing the grounds and the environment, you must be able to establish some common ground. What is it that they see you? Are you one of them? How do you even introduce yourself? How do you carry all? You are coming in from this perfectionist who is an alien, who is totally detached with what is bringing this audience with a common ground. So you must be able to place yourself to be among them. So you have some interest in it as well. They'll see you as someone who is similar to them, who is sharing the same challenges, who is struggling with the same challenges, and they'll be more receptive to your message than if you are not able to establish. So know your audience in every activity that you're doing. The second point that I had prepared was get the audience attention. How do you get their attention? Why are we discussing about persuasion? Is it important? Is it, we came from the point of, I want to earn my CPD point. Probably I've not been able to attend the training since Corona came. But is there interest in this topic? Have we ever heard about it? Is there something that we can enhance? Can we learn from each other? They say, before you persuade the audience, you must grab their attention and demonstrate why it is worth. So do you think at this point, it's a worth topic worth paying for and attending as a HR professional? We should be talking about CBAs, labor laws. We should be talking about performance management. Why persuasion skills? And I'm a HR practitioner. So you must be able to demonstrate why it's worth their time to listen to the ideas and suggestions and probably give. The other issue that you have emphasized, Polycarp, is establish credibility. And how do we establish credibility? Before you can persuade an audience, you must demonstrate your credibility and authority. People must be they are likely to be more receptive with someone they view as an authority in the industry or professional who is able to apply on first-hand knowledge and also in terms of the experience. The other issue, you must be able to tailor your message to the medium of delivery. When you want to persuade, whatever you persuade in writing, it is totally different from persuading verbally. For those who have been able to write board papers, you see even the outline of the board papers, like the length of your board papers, what you put in the board papers matters a lot, whether you are likely to persuade even the audience before you meet them for presentation, because the board papers have to be shared well in advance. Is it able to capture their attention? Have you been able to put the key deliverables, your prayers, in financial risk implication in such an attractive way that they can see you have well thought about it? You may have 50 pages of the information you want to give them, but can you summarize it into one pager that in a glance, they're able to look at it? The use of your words. Have you ever taken a board paper and they ask you, so Rhoda, what do you want with this board paper? Because they cannot actually see what you want. Or have you had a moment where they ask, Rhoda, all these many pages and the 50, your prayers is what you have in clause 3. This is your prayer for you, that if we approve for you a budget of 15 million, you are home and dry. And you tell them, yes, sir, consider it as approved. How do you feel? So how you tailor your message depends with the medium, and you should be able to align it, whether it's in written, whether it's verbal, whether it's a group. So the same way you do the writing, it should be different from the verbal, and you should know the choice of words and what talks to the person you're presenting to. And the second last, you must be able to convey the benefits to anybody, whether it's that board you're persuading, whether it is those senior managers you want them to buy in for your papers before it goes to the board. It is easier to convince an audience when you show them that your proposal will benefit them. We are all Kenyans. The audience will be asking, what is in it for me? What do I stand to gain? Why should I rally behind you? Why should I support? So you should be able to convey the benefits that after that they will get. Then the use of body language, especially when it's a verbal or one-on-one. Of course, it is very easy to convince people when you are dealing with them one-on-one, because you can observe their body language, you can see the way they are changing their attitude, then you are able to project your confidence, you are able to use the gestures, the eye contact, the authority. You can be able to use open hands so that you are approachable rather than when you are behind the paper or the screen. So that's how you can summarize the 6 that I had that may not be. Know your audience, get your audience attention, establish your credibility, tailor your message with the medium of delivery, convey the benefits of what you're delivering, and use of body language. That sums up what Polycarp was trying to say. So back to my question, what is this that was striking? What is it that you had a contrary opinion? Joshua has said, by the way, I do board papers and I have to use persuasive to get the positive results. That's yes. Yes, convince the other managers, because you know there are 2 lines. You have to convince your buy-in of the management before you even take it to the board. Because when you take board papers to the board, they are not HR papers, they are not Rodas papers, they are not Rose's papers, they are management proposal. So when you go to that HR committee, when you go to present those papers in the board, it is the board, it is the management you are presenting and the thoughts of the management. And it will be very shocking for a board of director to ask the head of finance or the CEO, and they say they hadn't looked at it that way, or they are not aware of your content. It will be shocking. That paper will not even proceed. Joseph Patterson has said, wow, that is good. Nelly, very value-adding topic for me. Thank you. Priska, I think we had read that comment. So I want to hear contrary opinion or additional information that on how we should persuade, something that we could have left out. We said, even me, I'm here to learn from you.
Can I?
Yes, Pinyanjui.
Yeah, I like the framework that you've presented, but like you are asking for a contrary opinion. This is when you have time to prepare and you know you're going into a persuasion situation or encounter. But sometimes it just happens on the corridors or unprepared. So you don't have time to think about persuasion attempt, audience factors, processing approach, persuasion outcome. It just happens to you. And then you'll just go back to your default approach when it comes to persuasion.
Default mode.
Exactly. So,
but your audience, Kenyanjui, if you meet with Rhoda, who is your colleague or your colleague line managers on the corridor, and the likely thing, if you meet with a board of director or the CEO on the corridor, the audience factor will not come in.
but you know, at that time, you don't have time to put all those boxes together in your head. You just resort to your default, whichever will come. Whether you're someone who thinks through before words come out of your mouth, whether you're someone who talks while thinking, that is the one that will come because of exactly what you're talking about, the pressure of the moment.
Yes.
So depending on who you meet, then it even becomes more incumbent upon you to fall back on your default. So my question is, how do we override that default when you're having those daily persuasion encounters compared to those ones where you need to prepare? For example, a board paper, you'll have time to write something down and organize your thoughts and all that. But when it comes to something, you've met someone in the corridor or even a salesperson on the street, and the person is trying to convince you. So those daily encounters and our default is also something, would like to go deeper into. Yeah, the other one is more helpful for prepared encounters and scenarios. Very helpful. But for
So
the daily
impromptu.
encounters, yes. And how do you override your personal default in as far as your communicate? Because persuasion comes back to your communication style, and we all have a default communication style. So how do you override the default to be able to have these factors into our mind or at the back of our mind somewhere? So just my thoughts. Yeah.
That's a very good question. It's very deep thought. And what I would say, the first thing that I would say, it is what you're doing right now. Any training that you will attend, I can train you for 5 hours, but there's that 20% of the training content that you'll carry home. What is it that you'll carry home? And I'm happy that you saw this topic and it captured your mind. And now you can see it is not just applicable on boardrooms. It is on the corridor. It is in the marketplace. So that realization itself put you alert. So enhancing your capacity in terms of attending a training like this and people sharing of information is very critical. And at times I find myself, if someone ambushes you and you're not ready, and it's someone that you know, at times you can say, that's a very well thought issue. Can I get back to you by lunchtime or by 2? Again, I always have my wish list that if I was to meet with the president today, what is it that, have you ever met with this prominent person and it's so abrupt? And then when you come out of the meeting, someone asked you, so why didn't you ask this for them? I can tell you, about 3 weeks ago, I happened to have gone in somewhere and I meet with Baba, and they were also with Peter Kenneth, and we had to share a meal. We were seated around the same table on 6 people. And I didn't expect them because I was going to meet someone and this person was sitting with them. And I think at the spur of the moment, you get confused, you don't know what to say. Then last week, my friend, I was bragging to my friend, she asked me, did you ask for the HR consultants for the Mayfair because he owns the Mayfair? That is where we find ourselves. Of course, I didn't, because I didn't even know. But even as an employee, when you work on the corridors, if you are to meet with the CEO and he asks you about what are likely things that he's likely to do. We have these CEOs who can ask, brother, what are the numbers on this today as per today? So those are things that you know they should be on your fingertips in terms of the numbers, how you are doing, what is the status, what is the pulse of your department. Those are things that you should, when you wake up every morning, you should be able to have them, that if you are called abruptly, you're being called by the chairman, you're being called by the board, what are they likely to ask you as a head of HR? You have those things on their fingertips and you refresh them every morning. That is one of the trick. The other one, you can ask for some time and I'll get back to you and ensure that you book like an appointment. Can I get back to you in an hour's time about this? Or if it's actually a salesperson who is really bombarding me, they are about to sell their merchandise. Why don't you ask them, let me carry this, let me go sleep over it. Let me go think about it before I make a decision. And when you go study it and you make up a decision, just let them know, of course, I've seen I have other investment plan and may not be able to take this time. So I'm sorry, but it is a very good offer, so that they don't keep on pressuring you every time. So again, if you are to meet like with your, maybe one of the people in the board that you think they are very influential, if they ask you, what are they likely? It's maybe, how is your family doing? How is life, Rhoda? How is your department? What is it that you'd want in the 5 minutes you have with them, or in 2 minutes to know about your department? Yes, we are doing very well. We've been able to train our people 75. We are on this project. So you have that package together. So those are some of the tips that you can use. Of course, the audience, you have to know, how do you deal with your seniors? How do you deal with your equals? How do you deal with your team members? What is it? If you're in the HR, what is in the mind of the sales? At times, you can even throw back the question to them. What do you think? What has been your thought about this? How do you think we can do it better? They give you the ideas and you hear them. That is what I would propose but let's hear from the other people in the class. We said we are all learning this. Have you ever found yourself in that position? How did you deal with it? Joshua?
What I wanted to say, Rhoda,
yes.
One thing that we need to do as we engage in persuasion, we need to wear our cap of emotional intelligence Like where my colleague Kinyanjua said that sometimes you are pushed back to your default mode.
Yes.
And in order to manage that, we prepare for persuasions. We have to know what is, we will not expect to meet everything that we desire to have.
Yes.
But we may also expect to meet resistance.
Yes.
So how we package the information and deliver it is very key. Such that at the end of the day, whatever is achievable is what is desired to be achieved. But we should not be overrun by our emotions so that we lose the sight of what we really set up to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. And what Joshua also reminds me, even the people who have mastered, because there are people who have mastered this art, they speak on their feet and they are ready. They are masters of that today, but they all started as amateurs. The other thing I always tell you, when you're building your self-confidence, never beat yourself too hard. It's not the end. If you're not able to get that deal, you're not able to be smart, the next time you'll be much better. We always say, make mistakes, own them, learn the lessons, dust yourself and move on, including on interviews. We have gone for interviews and you have thrown this question that, does it throw you off the balance? It's not the end of the world. Then you go back and research and learn your lessons. And you say, I only got it wrong once. This will not recur again. That is very good. Don't ever, if you miss it, if you drop, we are not perfectionists. Don't beat yourself too hard. There is nobody who is perfect, including that person who is trying to challenge you. Let's hear other voices from practice. Priska, are you able to unmute? We've not heard from you. Priska Njoroge, I would love to hear from you and what you think about this topic. Galgalo, Doyle, Collins, I would really love to hear from you and your take on this. Yes, Priska.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay, I'm following, yeah?
Yeah, did you hear his question and his dilemma?
No,
You missed that, huh?
That's okay.
Yeah, no. What he's asking, the procedures and how you're talking of the persuasion, it could work very well when you have time, when you're preparing for board paper, when it's on a write-up, when you know you are preparing for CBA negotiations or for a meeting, that would work perfectly. But now his worry is on everyday interaction, some things we have to think on our feet, along the corridors, on the water, when you are found with such situation where you have to persuade someone, and what you're likely to experience is the flight and you go back to your default mode. How do you deal with that you're able to incorporate persuasion in those everyday prompt activities? That's what we're discussing. And we're trying to just brainstorm and say, how have we dealt with it? How can we deal with it? Any idea?
I'm having issues with my network. I'm trying to follow, so allow me once I
That's
get
okay. You passed that. Huh?
I'll be able to press.
Yes. Frida, are you able to unmute? Or anybody else? Anyone? We want to
can I comment?
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm not helping, but I'm thinking if I'm met with such a situation,
yes,
it reminds me of a case where we were supposed to mediate, and one of the parties said, I cannot sit as long as that person is in that group. They don't want, they can never be right, they are always wrong, they are in corruption, so they don't want even to start. So, like you said, maybe you tell people they have a right to their opinion before you try to persuade them to listen and maybe give those people a chance. It is very hard. But if we remember that, you said there is the perfectionist attitude. I like that point. There's nobody who is perfect. There's no one right way for anything. So for everything, sorry, I have a cold, so I can't continue, but I like the idea of there's no one perfect way. There's always another way to do things. Given a chance and listening to people You tell them they have a right to express their view, and then you find a way of maybe reframing it and asking them, suppose they were the ones on the other side. So I think it's important to remember there's no one perfect answer, and to just even remind those people there's nobody who is perfect. Even what you are thinking is you have a right to your opinion before you go on to try and have more dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you. And actually that joins with what Joshua advised us about the emotional intelligence. How well are we able to take negative feedback or rejection? Do we take them personally? And I love that point where, like, have you ever, like the people now who have been in HR for some time, you've had situations, especially when you have very active union, where you have this disciplinary committee that is they're supposed to hear a case, and then you are seated there as one of the committee members, and when the union comes on, or the alleged or the accused person, they actually say you introduce your committee members who are senior managers, and you send, do you know them because you all work together? And the person you are supposed to hear the case says they will ask one of the committee members to recuse themselves because they think they'll be conflicted. They have a conflict of interest, and they cite their cases, and they request before they continue, they would like that person to recuse themselves. You have had those things they happen when we have very strong unions, that probably because I'm the line manager, I should recuse myself. I'm not likely to be independent, and they cannot be involved in decision making. And the principles of and the rules of natural justice requires, and the fair administrative action requires that we do so. So how do you take such? Do you take it personally that this person doesn't like you, or they're just procedural issues they are raising, so that if this case goes to court, then it cannot be, you don't lose on those grounds? So are you ready for that? Or when people come back and say, Rhoda, I think you are biased when you're looking at this, you are so much in this, you should be able to look at, how do we take that feedback? Joshua, that touches on emotional intelligence.
Yes, I think my experience with dealing with the unions, especially when you want to settle a dispute, they want first to put you on the side, first to attack you, to make sure that you lose your confidence.
Yes.
And also even to bring issues which are non-issues.
Yes.
And that's why I did say that really we need to put our emotional intelligence, remain focused on what really is the problem. Be good listeners, listen to every approach that they make, and find a way of diffusing whatever they are trying to put in a more respectable manner. First, you have to recognize them, recognize their presence, recognize everybody who is there, recognize everything that they say, but now you have to also honorably attack each and every point which you think is not right.
Yes.
And really what is meant to scatter the process, and explaining in a very humble way that this direction will scatter our process, and whatever we wanted to achieve at the end of this dispute discussion will not be achieved. So it's just to align people to the process, remain focused, and act with a lot of maturity. One thing that the union is good at is first of attacking and making noise and even shouting, which I always believe is intended to actually throw you offside.
Yes.
For you to lose your balance. But
including in the negotiations, they will walk out of the meeting.
Yeah, they'll walk out of the meeting. Sometimes they may walk out honorably to engage themselves and come back to consult, but sometimes they come back so wild, and sometimes they may come back reasoning. So for me, even if they want to be unreasonable, I remain focused. If the meeting cannot end, we give it another day, but still accommodating everyone. What is our intention of having that discussion? Thank you.
Yeah. So I think with that, we all agree, let's be lifetime students. We can never learn enough. Let's keep on learning, sharing experiences, asking people, because we are now dealing from the corridor talks to the big negotiations that we'll go with, and dealing with even the external stakeholders. So everything, gradually learn, build yourself, build your capacity, keep on learning, keep on looking, even beyond this, keep on looking for more online materials about persuasion, how to be persuasive. And the other thing that I always look when you want to look at personal development, you know yourself better than any other person. The areas that you think you are weak, if it's emotional intelligence, we said we are not perfect. Everybody has their downside. Try to look. The beauty is we have a lot of materials you can learn from. Keep on learning on every day. Whether you're going to give yourself a weekly target, monthly target, keep on learning. So with that, we will proceed from where we left. So now we are going to look at the importance of persuasion. Then we are going to look at the steps for persuasion process, and then we'll break for the day. Then we'll continue from the role of communication in persuasion tomorrow, and also how to use the IDA in persuasive writing. Then we'll have a rhetorical persuasion where we will look at some of the works of Shakespeare. And if you've not read their books and how they deal with the issues and the kind of leadership they have applied to really persuade people, we will look at them and also look at their work. Nelly says, work towards unifying different opinions, allow others to give their opinion. That's good. Polycarp said, it's true, we revert to cocoon and self-norms when things get hot. However, practicing of the art helps to hone the skills into muscle memory, just like how you can still eat even during a blackout. No way you'd put ugali on your ears. You keep, that's very hilarious, Polycarp, but actually it puts the point home. Practice, practice, practice. Beyond this class will not, it's just enlighten you on where to go, but learning, we have to continue learning. Yes, we have read the other comments, so let's proceed so that we can cover what we wanted to cover for the day. Let's look at the importance of persuasion. Why do you think persuasion is important? Someone said it helps to unify. Just quick comments. Why do you think it's really important? I didn't hear that.
Just before you continue, I have a question. I have a small question, clarification.
Yes.
On point number 3, you said that you need to establish your credibility on your 6 pointers. I was just wondering, is it at the point of persuasion that you're establishing your credibility, or is it an issue of demonstrating your credibility?
Your credibility, you have to build. You know, when you're building your brand, you have to be, because there is no way you can come and fake, now I want to establish my credibility. It is something that you build, including your confidence. So by the time you're presenting yourself, you are going to a familiar topic, something that you have not done. Don't try to be a quack that you want to deal with a topic that you don't have anything to deal about. So you must have prepared yourself to be able to do that. If you look at the issues we deal in HR, there are topical issues that we can even run in ICHRP, in diploma, but a lot of things you may not have gone to school to deal with. Issues like customer care, emotional intelligence, negotiation skills. So you must even, I don't think you'll just wake up from home and say, because I'm a HR, I'm going into a CBA negotiation. So you have to really build your capacity in that areas, so that by the time you go to the persuasion and to that dealing with, the first thing you give the people the comfort, I'm similar to you, I'm in this field, I know the things that you're going on, I've experienced them, I have that experience, I'm still learning, we can do this together. So that one, you're trying to establish the ground. Even when we were doing the introduction, Terry, at the beginning, you had a lot of people, I'm a HR practitioner, I'm a seasoned HR practitioner, and someone said, I'm saying I'm a seasoned HR practitioner because I've been in the industry for the last 10 years. Someone said, I have training in HR, I have diploma as CHRPK, but I'm an administrative assistant. I have not practiced, so I have the knowledge. So I'll be comfortable and we can discuss, and I'm aspiring to go into that. Someone said, I have this knowledge, but I have come to enhance myself. You hear that? So that brings a lot of common ground, and then you are able to establish that credibility. Probably, if you listen to me when I was doing my introduction, I said, my name is Rhoda, Of course, I can decide to spice it up and say, I'm a mother, I'm doing this, I feel you, all this. But then you said, I'm a HR practitioner like all of you, that I'm in the practice. I've been in the practice for the last 18 years, which has to be the truth, because you cannot come from school and you start telling people you have 10 years of experience. So that can tell you, you have grown with the practice and you have seen these things. Even the information like we are sharing, you can hear like Joshua has a lot of experience in the union matters. That's how you establish your credibility. And maybe beyond my HR practice, I've also been in the consultancy. And then beyond the consultancy, probably I've been partnering with the academy. I'm a trainer by profession, but I don't go through it as Rhoda. I go through the academy because we have different trainers. We share a lot of experience. We sharpen each other. And that is why you could hear even some participant calling me Catherine, praying for Catherine, because they know we have been on this together. So that way you are able to keep your audience that we are dealing with at the same level, someone who has experience, we are knowledgeable, so we can exchange that is what I call establishing the credibility. But you see, for you to be able to communicate that, you must be able to build it. And you build it in the small way. Even those people, like, they have been trained so much on HR, but they've not been lucky enough to be placed in a HR department. There are a lot of things they have done in HR. Some are consultancies, some are volunteering in projects. So that becomes your credibility and authority in that field. Have I?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other before we proceed? I don't want to close anybody out because it's more, I think we learn more from discussion than even the templates and the slides that we prepare. We just prepare the slides for the guides. So let's look at the importance. I was listening. What is the importance of this persuasion topic? Importance of persuasion, Rose is saying, is to unify and come up with win-win situation. That's from Rose. So the first thing he said, unify. And the other one, we want to achieve a win-win situation that we have all learned. Kinyanjui is laughing because he really liked the ugali metaphor. He said whether there is a blackout, that was from Polycarp, there is no way you can put your ugali in, which is very good. We came here to network and also to have fun. And then Nelly had said towards unifying different opinions to allow others to give their opinion. That's very true. So let's look at what we had prepared, and I'll move. So the role of persuasion in success. And we are saying there is a correlation between success and persuasion, because how well you are able to persuade your people, even in your business dealing, you can even negotiate for the price of a commodity, determines your success. How you are able to maybe even negotiate for a good interest rates when you're taking a mortgage, probably when you are borrowing or putting a fixed deposit, actually determine the success. If you look at the leadership, how well they are able to actually persuade the masses and the followership, the more followership they have, and more they are likely to be supported even in terms of elections, or even the buy-in and the goodwill of whatever they want to drive. So they say one of the key traits of successful person in professional as well as on a personal front is one that can persuade people. He becomes believable. Persuading people helps you to lead the people to your way of thinking, maybe to buy your ideas, to buy your products if you are in trade, and it helps to prevent unnecessary conflict and resentment. So if you are known to be someone who is persuasive and you persuade genuinely in an authentic way because you have the authority, even when you're dealing with the union, you actually reduce the number of conflict and resentment because they are coming in good faith and you are believable. They know when Rhoda says this, she means it and she'll give it. There is also a very strong linear relationship between success and persuasion. Are we in agreement with that? I'm seeing some chats. Pauline said persuasion is also important to ensure that your audience owns the vision of what you want them to do and they are persuaded to do so. The buy-in, great. Stella said for inclusion in the face of our diversity, so we reduce the conflict. Joseph Patterson has said you can succeed where people have failed through persuasion. Of course, we've had people saying it has always been done like that. you can never succeed. We have tried and many have failed. But because you have the persuasion, you can succeed where the other have failed. Thank you very much, that Joseph. Polycarp has said persuasion can help align energies, synergies in cross-functional persons, teams, and also department. That is very good. Okay, want to verbalize his point. He has raised his hand. Okay, are you in agreement that there's a relationship between success and persuasion? Let's hear you. Okay, your hand is up. Okay, is it by mistake? I think it's his gadget, so we can proceed. So from those comments, I can see we are in agreement and we can see the relationship in terms of, and we can see how it is important. Then we have summarized that persuading people can be beneficial to you in several ways, and look at the ways from all what we have discussed. The first one, we are saying it helps to deal with people so that they can feel important and appreciated. This resonates with what Nelly was saying, that if you are able to talk to the people, hear their feelings, where they are coming from, their pain points, trying to look at the root cause of the issue, people will, in exchange, feel important, and they'll also feel very appreciated. Then we are saying it helps to handle people without making them feel manipulated. And that is why we go for win-win situation. The other one, because actually they can see you are taking a lot of time and energy to listen to them, to feel them, and to actually feel the side of the story. The other one is it helps you to make someone want to do what you want them to do. You make them want to do. Yes, I want us to go to this route, but I don't want to drag you. I don't want to force you. But you make that person to voluntarily want to support you and to do what you want them to do. Is it not what leadership is all about? It is the power of influence. You make other people actually they want in their own volition to do what you want them to do. Then the other one, it helps in arousing a want to follow you and your instructions in others. Actually, what they are saying, it is right. We have benefits. So you arouse that want for them to follow you. The other one, it helps you to learn how to make people like you because you listen. The other one, it can help you win people over to your way of thinking. Someone had mentioned about that. Then it helps change people without causing offenses or arousing any resentment from them. Then we also look at how persuasion actually operates in terms of changing people's attitude. And we say there are main changes of attitude that takes place when you do an effective persuasion. The first one we say is cognitive change. I've heard people have said, now being able to look at persuasive communication or effective communication in a totally different way. You can see even the conversation between Frank and Gerard. Gerard now was able to think of things that he had not seen. He was seeing, now, this is a very unique leadership position, promotional. There is the global experience. I can take vacation. So you could see a lot of cognitive awareness that arose out of him. You recognize, you have more information, and there is more upskilling and knowledge coming up. So that is what you call the cognitive change, such as a change in attitude takes place when a person receives new information from others or media that they were not aware of or they had not considered. The other change in attitude that comes about is what we call the affective change. Affective change, it is the change of attitude. The way you had perceived or looked at a particular item, now that attitude changes. And you see when you are changed, the attitude changes, also your interest changes. Maybe you had hated something so much and you are not interested in it because of the attitude, the mental attitude you had about it. Now when that changes, also your experience about that thing or your experience about that person now changes. So we are saying such a change in attitude takes place through a direct experience with the attitude object. So you start experiencing that object or that experience or that person or that item or that experience in a totally different way. That is what we call an affective change. So the first one is cognitive, which affects your knowledge or the information. The other one is it affects the attitude itself through your probably the emotions. And the other change that happens is has you are experiencing in a different way. It is obvious that your behavior is also likely to change. So the behavioral change, such a change in attitude takes place when the person is forced to behave in a new way, different from the normal way they used to actually. And you start looking at it, even thinking at it from the very simple thing that even when you're writing an email, why am I stopping to write Polycarp an email? Because I want him to act. So even how I word my emails, I want it to make that when he receives that email, he's likely to say a yes. He's likely to support me. He's likely to respond positively. And when he's at, he say, Rhoda needs help. She's stuck. She has always helped me. He's likely to respond positively. Then I'm seeing a comment on the chat. Let me see. Persuasion helps people to feel important, recognized, and appreciated. That is from Rose. Rose, we agree with you. So we go on how we use persuasion to change attitude of others. And we are saying, this is like someone who is struggling to open a safe. You know, until you have the password, the lock of that, you cannot open that safe. That is also how that persuasion works on the individual. You are able to give those codes and the passwords that you are opening that. The only way you'll be able to persuade others is when you learn to control and change the attitude of the other people. Otherwise, if you come with the axe and you keep on hitting this safe, it will not open. But what is it that you are supposed to do that you'll easily and effortlessly be able to open? People's attitude are as difficult as a safe. So the only way you'll be able to persuade others is when you learn to control and change the attitude of the other people towards an idea, a subject, or a person, or a policy, so that then they can be attracted to your side. When you change the attitude of the other people, their action and hence their behavior will automatically come under your control. When a person's attitude becomes favorable towards you, they are more likely to comply with your wishes and agree with your opinion and their ideas. Are we in agreement with that? And then we're going to look at 2 slides to just look at how we use persuasion to change the attitude of the others. And these are just some key, what I'll call maybe some key tips, about 8 of them, how we can be able to change attitude of the other people. So the first one, we have to adapt the attitude we want the other people to express. We always say we should also always treat people how we'd want them to treat us. We should always perceive and believe in an item the way we want the other people to believe in it. So we have to adopt the attitude of what we want others people to express to us. Because if you don't believe in something, can you make the other people believe in it? Very difficult. But if you believe in it, you're likely to convince the other people to believe in it. Then the other item or the other tip I'll say, you must be able to speak out with confidence and grit. Believe in it. Speak with authority and confidence so the other people can also, you become more credible and believable. Then the other, people react and respond in a like manner to the attitude and action you express to it. What is your manner? Do you preach water and drink wine? Whatever you preach, you should be able to do it and they should be able to see it in you. Like, even the attitude. Is it that when you are communicating, do you believe in what you are saying, or are you acting in the way you are doing, or is just a fad? Then the other issue, you must be able to watch your posture all the time. Have you ever seen someone talking with a lot of authority, but the body language tells you a different story? Like a senior manager is actually maybe talking in a staff town hall meeting, and what they are saying, when you are faced with questions and rejection, you start turning and looking at the CEO. Didn't I tell you that? I told you that. So you don't believe in your message. You must be able to own it. Then remember to be authentic, because authenticism is contagious and it spreads from one person to another. And so does indifference or lack of enthusiasm about it. So you must be enthusiastic about it so that you can be able to spread to the other people. Then you begin today to develop an enthusiastic confidence attitude and also a manner. So everything has a beginning point. We have said you begin today and continue to develop that enthusiasm, the confidence, the attitude, and the manner you do, so that you can be able to persuade people. Then confidence breeds confidence. If we believe in ourselves, act as if we believe in ourselves, others will believe in us. And then finally, you should be able to hold your head up and display a positive body language at all the times, whether at the corridors, at the water point, or maybe at the tea point. Is it clear? Any additions? Let me hear your reactions before we go to our final topic for today, which is the factors affecting attitude change, and then we'll take a break. Let me hear your reactions before we go to the factors. Of course, they are near similar to what I had explained in my 6 points. Let me hear your reactions, comments. You can type them. You can unmute. Is it clear? Can we proceed?
It's quite clear. We can proceed.
We can proceed. Thank you for the blessing. So we can go on. So let's look at factors affecting attitude of change. And you just allow me to read them through, because majority of them we have discussed in our discussions. And what it says, the formation of attitude and the change of attitude are not separate phenomena. They are actually interwoven. How you form a particular attitude and how you change, they are closely related, because what leads us to forming an attitude? There is what we call the causal effect. When I talk to you first, when I approached you first, this is how you responded to me. This is how you reacted. Or when I tried working with this was the outcome. So out of that experience, and maybe seeing the experience of other people, of hearing stories from the other people, we are likely to form our attitude. That's all how we form our attitude. Just like a crawling child, before they have cut themselves with a blade or they've been burned by fire, they don't know it's dangerous. They play with it like a toy. But the moment you give them a blade and they cut themselves, they are burnt, they will never touch that fire again. Is that so? So formation of attitude and maybe something else, then as they grow up and they say, kumbe fire is useful, you can cook with it. They start developing new confidence, and then they change their attitude. They start even knowing you can use a blade to cut something as long as you are careful. So that is why we are saying the formation of attitude or change of an attitude they are not separate phenomena, they are interwoven and they are interrelated. So based on the changing needs and the interest, people tend to accept, change, or give up on their existing attitude. So the art of persuasion, we are trying to actually change the needs, understand the people's need, because the needs have kept on changing. So we change and we understand them. You create different interests, then people can accept you and can change the way they look at things, and they can give up their old existing or entrenched attitude towards what you're trying to buy them into. Hence, whenever a person faces any kind of change in their needs or interest, his attitude may also undergo change. And those are the cornerstones for formation of change and how we can use persuasion. Then the other slide is just saying there are various factors that affect whether a change or acceptance of a new attitude will take place or not. So as you are doing your persuasion, there are very many factors that will determine whether you'll succeed or not. So we look at 5 of them. The first one is, who is the communicator? So by the time you are approaching them with their change, you are changing needs and their needs and their values, the first thing they'll look at, who is communicating? Who is the communicator? Are they confident? Are they credible? Are they trustworthy? Well, who is this? We have always heard from them. And that is how you make a decision. Can I go back to the same person who rejected me? Can I go back to the same person who gave me a shoddy deal? So who is the communicator? So that is what the audience is actually processing. The number two, how is the communication presented? Are there benefits for me? How has it been packaged? Is it speaking to my values, my needs? Is it speaking to me as a person, or this is just an alien who is throwing big words? Number three, how is the communication perceived by the audience? Whatever you are saying, are they able to relate to their everyday life, to their values, to their needs? Are they seeing a room for growth or development? Do they see anything they'll gain from it? They look at it that way. Then, what is the credibility of the communicator related to the first one? Who is the communicator? Do I know him? Is it a stranger? Then, what have we heard about him? What is the credibility? That also affects. And finally, what are the conditions under which the knowledge is received? Is it under threat? Is it under duress? Is it a conversation? Is it a warm environment? Is it a caring environment? That is how you look at it. And finally, can we go and look at the steps of persuasion processes? Is it clear? They're also about 2-3 slides. Then we can leave it there. Beatrice is saying, thank you very much, Rhoda. And I kindly request to leave the meeting at this point. We shall meet tomorrow. That's okay. Rose, that's okay. Can you allow me to go through the few slides? Then we call it a day. This will be the last, the steps of persuasion. Then tomorrow we'll have it very easy so that we can, that is all. About 4 slides. And if we can discuss it on these slides, we don't even have to go through the other slides.
Please, Rhoda, can we discuss it tomorrow? Some of us are multitasking because they are in the office. We are back in the office.
And it's already midday. That is okay. There are not many. That's okay. That's okay then. Is that what the majority are agreeing? That we post there? Then tomorrow we start from the steps. Eh?
Yes, because actually this will be rushed. Yeah.
No. We don't want to rush. We want to have a discussion so that we can discuss it. We can digest it. So unless there is any burning question, I can see a lot of agreement to that, so that we don't push you. I know we started late, but we'll be able to comfortably cover it tomorrow without pressure. So for me, I think that is what I had prepared. Unless there are any burning comments, any query, clarification, then we see you tomorrow. I'm sure we'll not have problems with the network. Dan has assured me. So tomorrow we start at 9. And we can be able to finish even before noon. So that's okay. Sorry, guys, my network has been sick. Let's pick it up. Kesho, nice content. Great. Happy? So let's call it a day. I wish you a good afternoon. I see you tomorrow at 9.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye, Rhoda.
Happening.